Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all the listeners of today's episode of the Good Anime Palette Podcast. We are on episode 34, still in the office, still Will, still Jason. We have a pretty good day despite all the shitty weather. It's actually shit again. We had like 1 week of good weather, and then now it's been pissing like rain every single day. How are you holding up in this rainy weather, Jason?
It just occurred to me, when was the last time we talked about the weather as a preamble?
I'd say 2 episodes.
Oh, really?
Probably 2 or 3
It was
episodes.
that recent?
Yeah.
Shit. I always think
because we usually, for some reason, like, it's always like a rainy day when we go into the office to record. Actually, no. When we were doing the recordings at my place because of the whole like soft lockdown in Hong Kong, the weather wasn't that bad. We had some good days, but that was also because we had the curtains closed and the AC blasting the whole time, so we never really saw what was going on outside.
But guess what, listeners? Every day is a good day when you listen to the Good Anime Pal podcast, and we are here to give you the rundown on what Will and I have been watching, reading, a little bit of news, which is kind of funny, actually.
Yeah.
And get into today's topic, which is Gotta Watch Them All, the 3rd iteration.
I gotta be honest, I have been swamped with work and have not had much time to actually watch stuff. I'm actually quite behind on most of my seasonals, minus Spy X Family, just because it's a relatively easy watch. Whereas the others, oh god, like I'm behind on Kongming, I'm behind on Kaguya-sama, I'm behind on RPG Furusan. I need to start catching up on stuff. So hopefully, with the next week coming up, I don't have as many work commitments. Can probably start catching up on stuff. You've also been kind of busy, but you were able to at least watch and read quite a few things, right?
I actually did not read pretty much anything these days. Here and there, but obviously not to the consumption rate that, let's say, like last month or 2 months ago. But hey, seasonals are great. Shout outs to the spring season. It's been very, very good.
So I've heard. When I catch up on like the next 1 or 2 episodes that I'm behind on, it should be a good time,
Yeah.
right?
Maybe we could have a discussion whether it is off air or on the pod about it, because I think it is very good.
Right. So there is something that you've been watching. Actually, both of us have been watching. Like, so just as like a quick preamble, Netflix, despite the whole like losing subscribers and all that, and going through some really shitty troubles in the past couple of months, the next couple of months,
are you saying we should do a Netflix anime part 2?
No, I'm just saying that like right now the Netflix catalog is actually pretty decent, but we don't really need to go over because it hasn't really changed all that much. But it's like you still have like your Hellsings, your Narutos, your Bleaches. You also have your Evangelions,
Your Violet Evergardens,
all 5 seasons of Jojo and all that. So it's all stuff we've watched. It's kind of hard now to find things that like we haven't come across, but are definitely worth our time. So both of us actually have been watching stuff off Netflix, and both of us have varying levels of enjoyment. I think like you enjoyed your series, I enjoyed my series. I'll just go over what I've been watching, unless you want to go with yours first.
I watched something called Standalone Complex 2045 Sustainable War.
Right.
I'm just joking. I didn't. I saw that.
I did watch it on Netflix, but I was also like, it could not last more than an hour.
Yeah,
episode and a half.
I saw it, and they were like, "Hey guys, season 2 is coming out soon," and I'm like,
"Nope,
go, no, sorry." Okay.
Maybe that's why Netflix is losing subscribers.
Yeah, they're like, "We don't stand for this
get
bullshit."
off this platform immediately.
Netflix are standing alone right now. None of us want to be near you. Okay, well, what have you been watching? Because I'm actually very curious to hear about this show.
Yeah. So I think it was like maybe 3 or 4 episodes ago that you watched a Netflix exclusive called Orbital Children.
Yes.
Right. So actually, in the same vein, the creators of Orbital Children, I think 14, 15 years prior, had actually made another anime original.
Yes.
The show is called Den-noh Coil, or Den-noh Coil. It's like in Japanese, it's like Dennou. In English, it's Dennoh. But it doesn't matter. It's still pronounced the same. So Den-noh Coil is a very interesting sci-fi drama, sci-fi action. It's produced by Madhouse back in 2007, and it's kind of interesting because it has that mid 2000s Madhouse aesthetic. Like you watch, like I've talked about like Casper and Sins. It's very much that kind of dark, gray, gritty look, and because of the fact that it's very sci-fi focused, but with more of like a younger cast. Like essentially the characters are all children. They're
Right.
all in the 4th, 5th, and 6th grades.
Kind of just like Orbital Children.
It's basically like you can see there's like, the similarities in terms of the cast, in terms of like the setting. It's I mean Orbital Children is also very sci-fi, right?
Yes. Does Den-noh Coil's opening have very late 2000s vibe? Because that's my easiest way to tell. Like I saw,
no, it's very chill. It's very ambient. It's very unassuming. Most of the time, I just skipped it. To be fair, because Netflix auto skips it for me now.
savage.
That's fine. It just means I get to watch the good stuff. Which
Ugh.
no, yeah. I mean, if you care about openings, fine. I don't really, unless like, I like it, then I'll watch it. But for the most part, 90% of the time, I'm just gonna skip it. So Den-noh Coil is set in the future. It's set, I think, like 20 or 30 years beyond like the current times. I think it's like it's like 2040, 2045, something like that. And all the children are now living in a world where you have kind of like fully, like, kind of fully immersive AR technology. Now, AR being augmented reality. You remember a while ago, like we had those commercials for Google Glass?
Of course.
It's basically Google Glass, but better because it actually works and it doesn't look goofy. So what happens is that the world they live in is essentially half real, half internet. They're able to sort of create new worlds within the city they live in. They are able to have digital pets. They're able to do a lot of work and transactions using just pure augmented reality. However, it seems that this is a world where only children seem to use this AR technology, except for a few adults. And as they start to get more in tune with using this technology, they start finding out more about what, like, I guess generally, like, there's that portrayal of the self, and then the projected self as well, where like you are just a representation of your digital being, and then your digital being is a representation of you. But how is there consistency between the both if one doesn't exist and the other one ceases to exist?
So is it kind of like
It's like it's like children's Ghost in the Shell.
so it's like WoW also like World of Warcraft or MMORPG?
You can, yeah, it's like Digimon, right? Because you can have augmented pets. You can also basically like assault someone like in a way where like not like in a criminal way, but then more like when you fight somebody, you can have like digital battles and shoot like little digital pellets at each other.
Wait, so basically there is this thing where if the outsiders were to look in, it's just a bunch of people doing weird shit.
Yeah, but you put the glasses on.
Whoa,
it is
whoa,
like the craziest thing ever. So that happens. What else happens? There's other stuff too. That's essentially especially when we're talking about like consciousness, talking about memories, talking about the digital age. Very much, what you see may or may not be real. It may not be reality, and that's kind of like that really deep question that a lot of the characters have to find the answers to. It's definitely like a Digimon kind of show where it definitely is a children's show, but they don't treat children like they're stupid. Like they actually like think the viewers would be like, actually, it may be worth trying to give them more mature, more grown up kind of topics when dealing with death, when dealing with memories, dealing with the reality of what it means to be a human, and whether you're able to like consciously tell the difference between what's real, what's not, especially if you're wearing augmented reality glasses 24/7, right? So I think it's a really good show. There are, however, some glaring issues. The first half of the show is incredibly slow, to the point where it's very episodic. You have like little like short skits to sort of build up characters, give them like a more fleshed out story. Some of them don't really land, but once you get past like the halfway mark, maybe even like closer to the 2/3 mark, it gets really, really damn good. So if you can bear it for like maybe like a couple episodes, you can start picking it up. It gets great. The other glaring issue I have with it is sometimes it kind of gets hard to tell characters apart. Now, this is not like a racist thing. Like, far from it. Basically, all the character designs are actually very similar. Like, I can tell you like 5 characters. all have the same hairstyle, all have the same eyes, all have the same heights. So it gets kind of hard to remember, like, is that person Yusako or is that person Isako? They all have the very similar names too. So that part was kind of annoying for me, but put that all aside. You want something that's a little bit different in terms of your typical shonen and supernatural thrillers and stuff that's on Netflix. I think Den-noh Coil is definitely worth a watch. I ended up giving it an 8 out of 10.
I think Den-noh Coil is a show that is always highly ranked on my anime list. It's like an 8 point something.
8.04 last I checked, which I think is actually very indicative of like what kind of show it is, because it's very much easily like a 7.5 for someone, an 8.5 for another. You can go either way, because some people might not get too like interested in how deep and like big brain technology they get. Some people might think it's a little bit too slow, but some people also might really like the fact that they're always constantly challenging like varying levels of streams of consciousness and all that. I personally like this.
So it's a very philosophical, modern Ghost in the Shell-esque, but with children, basically.
Yes.
It also won a lot of awards, Will.
A lot of awards.
So I know this creator, he did Orbital Children, and obviously he did Den-noh Coil, but I think his resume mostly consists of storyboarding, which is a very important position to have. But in terms of him being the original creator and writer and really have like his identity put on an anime adaptation or an anime product, it is Den-noh Coil and Orbital Children, because they're both obviously anime originals because it's written by the creator. So it also 24 episodes, I think you said?
26.
26. So it's a pretty long series.
Was Orbital Children Madhouse as well, or
Nah, because it wasn't. I forgot what it was.
Yeah, whatever.
I think it's Naz or
Studio Naz, N-A-Z.
Let me check it while you.
Yeah. Well, generally, like I would recommend people check out Den-noh Coil. It's extremely different from the standard anime series you can get on Netflix right now. So definitely worth your time. It is a bit of a slow burn, 26 episodes, but take your time with it.
Production Plus H is the studio, which I'm thinking is his studio, basically.
Okay.
But
All right.
I think as part of the deal to make and release Orbital Children, I think Netflix was like, hey, can we also have Den-noh Coil? And I think that was a very good idea, basically.
It was a great addition. I think it's very cool. Just because like, I'm sure everybody's already watched their Blue Exorcists and Narutos and Bleaches and whatnot. This is definitely something that goes against the grain. It's a nice addition to the Netflix catalog. Will it save Netflix? I don't know. But yeah. What have you been watching then? You've also been watching a Netflix show.
So speaking of Netflix exclusives, there has been a show that was released at the end of March that we didn't cover for pretty much any of our seasonals and so on and so forth because we didn't include it, basically.
Well, it was also the release schedule is a bit weird. It came at the end of winter, and like, we were still like a couple weeks away from getting into spring. So like, which season does it really fall under? Plus, it was also an ONA as well. It's
right. And the one that we're talking about is Thermae, Romae, Novae, which is based on the manga Thermae, Romae by Mari Yamazaki. It's 6 volumes, all released in English by Yen Press. And it is produced by Studio Naz and released as a Netflix exclusive. I think there's 11 episodes. So this is a reverse isekai. So basically, it is about a person being transported to modern times, or kind of, basically. I don't want to elaborate more. But it is...
Spoilers if you get too far into it.
But the main character is a bathhouse designer back in the old Roman times when the Roman Empire, things like Julius Caesar was alive and well and very prominent figure, like that kind of era. And this guy is a bathhouse kind of designer. And he basically, through one way or another, submerges himself in water and then wakes up in an onsen in modern times and then adopts those modern onsen practices when he transports back to his old normal world and is seen as a genius that is revolutionary in terms of bathhouse technology. So I think this show is pretty great, but I don't think it is very good, if that makes any sense, because it doesn't. I understand.
What do you think holds it back? Does it mean like, okay, like we have quite a lot of isekai shows the last couple of seasons, and more recently, we've also had a lot of reverse isekai shows too. Like the most glaring one, of course, is Parepi Kongmeng, or your boy Kongmeng, and then now you have in the season before it, you had Thermae, Romae, Novae. Essentially, reverse isekai brings someone from the past to the quote unquote present day, using their expertise to apply to like modern day technologies. Where does Thermae Romae kind of like not hit the spot?
So a very good, decent anime that I always compare it to, or at least when I was watching Thermae Romae, was, hey, this feels a lot like Restaurant to Another World, because it's a bunch of people being exposed to modern food and then being curious and then basically take that kind of feeling and the way things are made back to their world.
Yeah, I really should check that out. Whether I'll enjoy it or not, I don't know. But like restaurant isekai does sound something that I should at least check out.
I forgot what is the term, but we mentioned it before several times, which is it's the healing type of anime, which
where
is
nothing really happens, but it's also soothing, so you watch it for that particular reason.
It starts with an I. I forgot the
Inayashiki or something. What it was?
Yeah, just don't say the
Inashi?
Last Hero one.
Yeah.
Inuyashiki, yeah. But okay, so this is a show that I think is a 7 out of 10. But this show's love for onsen and bathhouses is something that I vibe with a lot, because I love onsen and bathhouses in general. Furthermore, they double down on the bathhouse, because actually the episodes, even though they are like 25 minutes or 24 minutes, which is the normal length an anime episode is, it's actually 18 minutes or so, because the last like 6-7 minutes is dedicated to the real actual mangaka in real life going to all these all these different onsen locations in Japan, and relates it back to the episode that was the main character was going through and being like, hey, they talked about the onsen egg, for example. And then the mangaka would go to a place that is very well known for having a really delicious onsen egg. And then it's just like this travel log, like travel segment that is just so wonderful, honestly, and really captures the love and appreciation for onsen and bathhouses. Besides that, the plot is super predictable. It's just, hey, this episode, the main character puts in a situation, he gets teleported, he coincidentally finds out the solution, goes back to the original world, does it, and everyone marvels at his genius when all he does is like, technically I'm stealing the stuff, but yeah, I'll take it,
I mean, it just sounds like a chill kind of anime where like you don't have to take it too seriously. You just enjoy it for what it is. Is it
healing?
Is it soothing?
Yeah. Also, when you get the Way of the House husband voice actor to also be this kind of bumbling but very sincere like bathhouse designer, it's really weird, it's awesome.
I love Ken Suda.
Yeah, he's awesome. So 7 out of 10, but it is one of those shows that you put it on and you just have it there. It's great because especially if you like onsen or that kind of bathhouse kind of culture, it is the show basically. It's the only show kind of. So
I could do with an onsen. If only we could travel. Too bad. Oh well.
Wait, when we do, we will. Do you think we can actually live record
no,
while we're in
absolutely not. Absolutely, they will not allow any electronic equipment into a bathhouse. They would think you're. Yeah.
No, we just do a drone from up top, and
that's even worse. We would still have to get permission, Jason. Wait. This is you advocating for it. What happened? Why are you telling? Wait, that's illegal, Jason. I mean, wishful thinking, though. All right. Did you watch or read anything else, or are you going to save it for the next episode?
I think I will save it for the next episode.
Cool. Okay. We then have a relatively short news section, but the thing is, it's just because there really wasn't all that much news. Like, what are we going to do? Say another isekai is getting fucking adapted? A new light novel's getting turned into a manga?
I mean, there are those, but yeah, no.
Like, why would you care? There's so many isekai that get adapted anyway.
Hey, yeah. Blue Lock announced a premiere date. Great.
Yeah.
So,
don't worry about it. That stuff's not going to be important for you. We want to dabble into stuff that's a little bit funny, a little bit weird, or like actually is like very consequential to the world of anime and manga.
So, ladies and gentlemen, have you heard of a manga and an anime called One Piece. Now, I know. Hold on, think about it first. Maybe it doesn't ring a bell, but if you really think about it, you might remember this series.
Ancient series, right? Written by Eiichiro Oda.
Yeah, and if you know anything about One Piece, which is basically me saying, if you don't know what One Piece is or what it's roughly about, well, what are you doing?
I'm trying to think of a world now where like people actually don't know what One Piece is.
I mean, actually, it's kind of possible because if we could go a little bit off tangent, right? For us, One Piece, we grew up with it. But nowadays, because I think the ability to retain, manga readers and viewers of the anime is going to be solid.
The current slate of One Piece fans are basically us.
Exactly.
Right? The new generation, they're the ones who go into Spy X Family, go into Demon Slayer.
You're not going to
Chainsaw Man.
You're not going to convince like an 18, 19-year-old that like, hey, there's this show that has 1,000-something episodes and like over 100-something volumes, but trust me, it's the best thing that you've ever read. And they'll look at you be like,
yeah, but
is this like Gintama? Is this like Gintama? Because fuck that noise. And I'll be like, no, but yeah.
Well, I don't know if you're doing that as a slate on Gintama, but like
no, it's more like a slate on people who are unwilling to consume stuff just because they're good but long. But I also am.
That sounds like totally like us too.
Yeah, that's totally like us. So that's why like I get that. But hey, anyways, look.
But no, because it's that instant gratification culture, right? Like you want people to be like, oh, like you should totally check out the classics, but like, oh, but they're simulcasting Spy X Family on Netflix right now.
Like
right?
Conan Case Closed. Like I'm not gonna watch that. I know what it is. Yeah. I grew up with it, but
so they just finished like. They just finished simulcasting Demon Slayer and Attack on Titan. Like, why do I want to go back and watch it that came out like 25 years ago? That's just it.
But one thing that is consistent, guys, is
the memes.
The memes, and not only that,
it's effect on popular culture.
Yeah,
for sure, right? Like, no matter what, even if you haven't watched enough One Piece, which is crazy, you would have known what One Piece is because you actually seen it.
You won't know what the One Piece is because no one does yet.
No, that's why you know One Piece as a property. IRL,
yeah, that's true.
But you don't know One Piece as the end game because I don't think there is a One Piece.
So the reason why
conspiracy theory, there was never a One Piece to begin with.
There's two. So the reason why we're going off on this rant is because One Piece recently has another promotion. So you might be like, guys, like Jason, Will, the fuck you talking about? One Piece has promotions all the goddamn time. They're so popular. They're so well known. They're so prominent. Oh, they might have a live action movie. I think they actually do have a live action movie.
It's
by Netflix. I think
I'm scared to even look at it.
Is it by Netflix?
I think it's on Netflix. Yeah.
Holy shit, guys! We are gonna 10-foot pole away, restraining order kind of bullshit. But
as long as Luffy's arms can go, basically.
Okay. So for those who actually don't know that much about One Piece, let's just say it's about pirates. And it has a lot of crazy powers.
Yeah, and they get these powers from not like radiation or like science experiments gone wrong or magical powers. No, they come from eating these magical fruits. Each fruit itself has a different property, but generally the base of it is called the Gomu Gomu fruit. Yeah, so it might be in the shape of a melon, might be in the shape of a banana, an apple, whatever it is. These are the devil fruits.
So several episodes ago, we reported on a news story about the Nine Tails potentially being real because a rock got cut into two and Naruto is now existing somewhere.
Yeah, because that rock was supposed to be like the gateway that holds back the Nine-Tailed demon, and now that it's split open, it's supposed to signify that the Nine-Tailed demon has broken free.
But guess what? If you want to get superpowers, especially the ones that are in One Piece, you have a chance now because the Gum Gum fruit now is officially becoming an edible melon cake. That's correct, guys.
Hey, just disclaimer, like, no, these fruitcakes do not grant you superpowers. Do not listen to Jason.
It's called diabetes. It's a great superpower.
Yeah, it just means that your insulin levels are never in sync, and you also have to constantly jab yourself with a needle.
Look, consume food at a moderate level, guys.
It's also not cheap either. The cake itself is 13,000 yen, so roughly like $100 US.
But that's a small price to pay for power, bro.
To be fair, though, because the yen is in the tank right now, it actually might not be too bad to get it. the yen is doing terribly.
So
right
if
now.
you look at the cross section, it has a bunch of fruits. It's very intricate. Basically, it looks legitimate.
There is like melon. There's like strawberries. I'm assuming the purple layers are just like cake, but dyed with fruit coloring and all that. A lot of cream, a whole lot of cream. I don't think I would be able to eat this because, yeah, my lactose intolerant ass is not going to be dealing well with this shit.
But hey, it's out there now. You can actually eat this melon cake that is based off of the gum fruit in one piece. So that's a pretty interesting news that Will and I encountered. The other piece of interesting news, because we're only doing 2 news stories this time, but we might go hard into this, is Will and I are pretty Western. Will and I have been in Canada and the US for quite some time. We like sports a lot. That's not necessarily a revolutionary thing to say. Oh my god, I'm like stuttering over myself. We like sports, Will. Do you like sports?
Spurts. I do like spurts.
To the point where we actually have an episode dedicated to sports animes.
Y'all should check it out. It's a good episode.
I think it's episode 10.
Yeah. But why are we talking about sports? Right? This is an anime podcast.
So there is a sport, Will, did you know, that is called American football, or in America it's just called football.
Yeah, bringing it back to the previous episode, when we were talking about
Ayoashi.
season, Ayoashi, and I kept on saying soccer and football and all that. Yeah, no, this time around I'm just gonna say football. I'm not gonna say American. I'm sorry for confusing everybody, but like this is what happens when you grow up in a British school system and then grow up in like an American university. Your linguistic skills go out the window.
So you might be wondering, hey, Jason, the fuck you're talking about with
why are we talking
American
about football?
American football and anime? What does that got to do with anything?
Well, the Chargers the Chargers released a tweet saying because they're going to be doing their schedule release, and someone on their social team said, "Shall we release our schedule as an anime?" And it's a big no, but the no is spelled as yes. And then a week later, when the schedule released, they put out a 2.5 minute like OP sequence of the Los Angeles Chargers 2022 like season. They actually had a seasonal premiere. It's actually kind of nuts. I mean, we're not going to play it because there's a lot of course, like copyright shit.
But it's 2 minutes. You should check it out. It's available online for free, obviously. The amount of anime references in this 2-hour trailer is insane.
Yeah, dude, they got Monster Girls, they got Attack on Titan, they got AOT,
they got One Piece.
No, AOT is Attack on Titan. Yeah, they got One Piece as well.
They got Food Wars, so a bunch of and obviously Naruto. So there's a bunch of Shonen Jump stuff, but still, like, it's pretty cool. It's very cringe, but in a way that I just like. Yeah, props.
It also really helps too, like if you are a football fan and like you understand like the Easter eggs and like the digs that they have. Like they really shit on the Seahawks. They really shit on the Falcons as well. I know that for some of you might have no idea what the fuck I'm saying. I apologize. I'm a weeb, but I'm also like a sports head too. So the best of both worlds. I love sports. I love anime. I'm always entertained no matter what.
Like you can watch this trailer and appreciate it as like, oh, it is an American football team releasing their schedule in terms of who they play against, but they're doing it in animated style and referencing all these well-known anime. That's fine. But then when you go one step deeper and go like, wow, actually this trailer calls out this other person that has been accused of certain things, or they got traded away, which is very sports talk, like a ton of sports talk, basically. But it's fantastic.
So, like, we've done an episode before, right? Talking about, like, essentially the state of anime and manga in the mainstream, right? We've talked about this, actually, like, way like, over a year ago when we first started doing this podcast.
And yeah, and there's a lot of NFL players. I think there was one in particular
Yeah,
at that
lots.
time
There's
that we
lots,
talked about
yeah.
doing a Crunchyroll segment, right?
Crunchyroll, like I think I think he featured on like their podcast, and then there's also a lot of basketball fans who are also doing it as well. Like, dude, like even like the soccer team that I support, Liverpool, one of the players, Ibrahima Konate from France, he is a massive Attack on Titan fan. Like I think he scored a goal against a Champions League opponent, and then he busted out the Sasageo celebration.
Yeah, I think in the Olympics there was a One Piece reference when an athlete came out. There was certain Attack on Titan salutes. I think there was also isn't there a soccer team that was sponsored by Kodansha?
That's Liverpool.
Bro,
Yeah,
okay.
we Liverpool has like publishing sponsorship from Kodansha. So I'm actually wondering if they're going to be making any Liverpool themed manga anytime soon. It'd be really interesting to see how that turns out. But for sure, it's mostly just for sponsorship purposes. They may not actually make anything with Liverpool, but they've had a hand in some animation work, like essentially sourcing materials. We do have a Japanese player on our team, Takumi Minamino. So, Gambare, hope you have a good season next year.
So going back to the LA Chargers trailer, is it like very high quality in terms of?
No, far
It's
from it.
definitely not.
It looks very rushed for sure. You could tell like this is like someone who was on their media and comms team being like, we need to make an anime right fucking now. It's like, okay, but you're not gonna be calling a studio. You're gonna call some freelancer off Fiverr and give him like $50 and say, hey, make an anime. It's like, okay, sure. And then this is what they gave you after 5 minutes.
But I have to admit that it is very nice to see that, hey, an actual American football team is sort of saying, yeah, we're cool with anime. And by the way, let's drop all these bombs that are anime references, even though they're all Shonen Jump. But also throw digs at people that if you dig deeper, you'd be like, wow, that's a pretty good diss,
Yeah,
dude.
the meta in it is like fucking insane. Like they actually did their research. They didn't just say, "Oh, let's just animeify this thing. Let's just make everything Japanese and add like ramen noodles and ninjas and shurikens." And no, they actually like went in there and be like, "Okay, so we're in the same division as the Las Vegas Raiders. So Raiders, Pirates. Why don't we make the Raiders Pirates and then boom, One Piece." Right? Oh, we also have a seasonal schedule against the Tennessee Titans. So why don't we have the running back dressed up as a Titan and then we destroy him because we're Kenny as fuck.
Yeah, but it's not just it. It also goes crazier because, for example, there was one where they show them going against the Indiana Colts, and that one is just like them in a merry-go-round. So you're just like, what does that mean anything? But then actually, if you know the sports Easter egg behind it is a carousel of people that the Indianapolis Colts had to go through, and it's just like, oh, hey, there's a Waffle House reference. I think I can say that.
Yeah.
But that is because a certain player likes Waffle House, and also because it has certain ties with another team that is very well known that I also like, but I will not name. Actually, I will name. I like the Patriots.
Fucking Pats fan.
Hey, I grew up in Boston, all right?
Fuck you, New England. It's fine, no. You guys
Hey,
beat us fair and square.
I did my time at Purdue, okay? I
Yeah.
did my time. I got dissed so hard I took it because I mean, come on.
Yeah, but I mean, like, what are you gonna do, right? Like, you're a Pats fan in Colts country. Like, you're gonna get shit on.
But that's the level of detail that they went into in terms of.
It is really cool that they actually did this.
Yes.
Because it looked like they made sense. They didn't just like put together some like popular anime shit and then just release a schedule. They actually went in there, talked to a bunch of people within their comms team, and said, "This would actually like hit real good. This actually is like the best way to shit on this team without really shitting on their team."
I can totally see like there's just one football player that is like a weeb, and then he's like basically like calling up like the team every like hour, be like, no, then think of this, and then reference this, like trust me on it, like you got to do this, and then they call the team at like 3 a.m. It's like, guys, what if Shogugeki no Soma is like a very, very good reference for this team?
God damn. If you're out in LA and you're like a Chargers fan, you're a Rams fan, or you're just a fan of football, and you also love anime, it's a great time to be in LA. Y'all lucky as hell.
Mad respect. But hey, look, also I have to say, the YouTube comments have been very positive. It's very easy to shit on this kind of production and sort of the way that they went about it. Because yes, it's kind of cringe, and
Well, that's also, let's just be real too. This is still very much like one of the most hardcore American sports too. It's, when you're introducing something that's different, that's one of the things that unfortunately certain cultures don't really like, where it's like too much of a drastic change. So it's really good to see that actually most people, actually all the comments I've seen so far have been very, very welcoming and like well received. In fact, they're like, I didn't even know what anime was before, but now I kind of want to check out this Attack on Titan thing. Let's go Titans. Or like, oh, it's like I'm just a college fan, but I also really love anime. By the way, shout out Alabama, Roll Tide, that kind of thing.
yeah. So we went on for quite a bit about this, but we thought it was a very, very funny and cool thing because it intersects sports, anime. It also intersects with our interests, and also the kind of the proliferation of anime being a very big part now of culture in general, rather than just Asian culture or Japanese culture.
Yeah, especially when like we don't have that much like American football anime as well outside of iShield 21. It would be cool to see like these kinds of collaborations happen with other sports too, right? Like, I would love to see like an anime basketball schedule release. I would love to see more within like the world of association soccer.
Now it sets a precedent, so that shit's gonna happen. Definitely that there's gonna be like a basketball team that's just gonna do that. That.
Which team would it be?
I don't know.
It would be Phoenix. It'd be the Phoenix.
The Suns.
The Suns. Oh, they're doing really well this season. But now that I might have said it on an anime podcast, I might have jinxed it. And
I like Nash.
Yeah, dude, that really showing your age, dude.
Yeah, bro. I know.
Yeah. I liked Shaq when he first played his first 3 rings.
Yeah, but Nash was like a really good assist player.
Yeah, who never won a ring.
Yeah, but still, he was a really good player. I like him.
Yeah, he never won a ring.
Yeah, that is very true. I'll take that to the grave. Like I get it.
Unfortunately, he's one of the best players that never won a championship.
Yeah, so catch Will and I on our next episode of Why Sports Matters if you are also into anime. No, I'm just kidding. We're not doing that.
We can't say GSP either because GSP is a real person. Otherwise, it would be the GSP Good Sports Podcast. Anyways, we have gone on a long tangent about why sports is cool, but it's related to like why anime is cool too. Because when you put the two together, like people like that shit. I think it actually works, and it gets to the point now where going forward, things would just be like you just see an anime commercial or you just see like an anime promo of a sport, of a certain like event, of a certain business. You just look at it and be like, that's a cool promo. Huh.
I'll be honest, if an Attack on Titan opening can be #1 on the US Billboard charts, anything is possible at this point.
Yeah.
So, look, we might have lost a lot of you by now. Just chill after the break. We'll come back and we'll go over our main discussion topic. Gotta watch them all, with me watching Jojo and Will watching more of the Monogatari series. Will, has the food arrived yet?
Not yet.
Damn it. Well, it
may take longer because of the rain, unfortunately.
Well, don't worry about that, listeners, because that's our problem, not yours. And we will be back. Well, anything you want to say before we head off the break?
Well, to be fair, okay, look.
Okay, here we go.
This whole segment, actually, because of the fact that we only talked about like one anime each, and then we also only had like 2 bits of news, we have a lot of time. I think that it's fine just to go a little bit longer in terms of what the future holds in terms of anime mainstream collaborations. So like, because so Warner Media has picked up Crunchyroll, right? No. Sony's picked up Crunchyroll.
Yes.
Who does Warner Media own? Not anymore. They don't because they sold.
Yes.
Crunchyroll. Did they also have Rooster Teeth?
Yes.
Yeah. So
and then Sentai now has High Dive. I think we reported on that a bit.
Yeah.
And I think Sentai belongs to a certain, I don't know, parent companies and stuff. I don't know.
I'm just hoping for more like anime commercials in the mainstream. Like, of course, it's like you're going to see them anyway. Like, we see them a lot in Asia. Right, we see a lot of, like, for example, there was that Cup Noodle and Kaguya-sama collaboration that happened like 2 years ago. There's also ones for One Piece and Cup Noodles. Actually, Cup Noodles does collaborations for any anime.
Do you know how many Pocari Sweat commercials I've seen in my lifetime that are crossed with anime? Then all of a sudden, there is this really good commercial that Will and I really, really adore that is directed by none other than the director and creator for Your Name and Weathering with You, Makoto Shinkai, and it's about a fucking tutoring agency.
Oh, it's Crossroads, right?
It's called Crossroads. You can watch it for free in its entirety, and it's only like 2 minutes because it's an actual commercial for a tutoring agency, but it encapsulates just
the production quality is really, really good.
It's basically 2 minutes of a Makoto Shinkai movie with all of Makoto Shinkai isms in it.
Yeah. So, you've watched Garden of Words, right? You know, like that part where like where the two main characters finally meet for the first time.
Yes,
like,
and their feet. Yeah,
yeah. That's basically Crossroads, but with less feet.
All right. Okay.
Crossroads is great. Anyways, okay. So just like another 2 minute aside, we're done there. Our food's gonna take a little bit longer, so we're just gonna maybe like watch a little bit of anime, chill out for a bit.
Maybe record a BP.
Yeah, y'all should go watch some anime as well, because we're gonna come back and we're gonna be talking about more anime. It's just anime. No more sports today, just anime. Okay, we'll catch you all later.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Good Anime Palette Podcast. This is episode number 34. This is your co-host, Jason. Will is here. We had a long break, actually, because our lunch was late.
Yeah, the rain definitely slowed things down, and we're also trying to prep a couple things for the upcoming season of the Good Anime Palette Podcast. So it might be a little while before we start releasing some details, but just be ready that we're going to be changing a few things. There will be a few new iterations of certain series. There will be some old favorites that come back. But generally, we're excited to be rolling out Season 4. But we're not quite there yet. We're just in the planning phase right now.
But what we are ready to do is talk about our main discussion topic, which is to continue our Gotta Watch Them All. This is Gotta Watch Them All number 3, where Will and I embark on a separate journey where he watches Monogatari, I watch Jojo, and we document and discuss our adventures and our stories of these two wonderful anime series.
So right now, it's just to sort of remind everybody of what the current status is. Jason's been tasked with watching the Jojo series, so he's currently on part 3 of the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure series. Not season 3. We'll actually go into that in just a moment.
And that's called Stardust Crusaders.
As for myself, I will be covering a few different segments within the Monogatari series, primarily Neko Monogatari Kuro, or Black, Shiro, or White, Kabuki Monogatari, as well as Hana-Monogatari.
And for me, JoJo Part 3 is split into two 24-episode seasons. And I watched the first 24 episodes, so season 1. And I guess now we can kind of get into the numbering and the stupidity when it comes to figuring out how to watch it. Because originally, Will and I have to have a lot of discussions in terms of how to figure out what to watch for the Monogatari series. But this time, JoJo's like, yo, I don't want Monogatari to get the spotlight. I also want in on this stupid numbering business.
So, I will say, though, that it's a bit of a stretch compared to the fucking ridiculousness that Monogatari has.
Oh, yeah, it's like first and second, but first place is like way higher than second place. There's no doubt about that.
You gotta throw a little bit of shade on the JoJo, right? Just, if you have the opportunity, why not? Why not do it?
So the reason why this time around the JoJo numbering and seasons is confusing is because in terms of the manga, which JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the anime production is based off of, it is part 3, known as Stardust Crusaders. Then, in terms of anime production, though, this is technically the second season of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure because the first season is part 1 and part 2 of the manga, which is Phantom Blood and Battle Tendency mashed together. Then, obviously, the part 3 is split into 2 parts because there are 48 episodes, so it's 24, with season 1 of part 3, Stardust Crusaders, and then season 2 of part 3 of Stardust Crusaders. So I am watching the second anime season adaptation of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which is adapting JoJo Part 3 Stardust Crusader Season 1. That was a mouthful. Okay.
Yeah. But it really isn't that confusing.
No, it isn't. I just think it's kind of stupid.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's also like you're just doing that because of how fucked up Monogatari sequence is.
Yeah,
so
now let's get into some real dumb
like,
shit.
Oh, like this is like the most like smallest of inconveniences for JoJo, but like you gotta make it bigger than it is.
Yeah, because that's the only chance that I've got. Because we're gonna shit.
No, that's fine. No, because we're gonna tear a new asshole for Monogatari because how fucking ridiculous they decided to make their ordering. Because this is yet another fucking clusterfuck of going back and forth in terms of your watching order. Right? Like, okay,
we have made it very apparent for almost every Gotta Watch Them All, other than the first one, that the ordering of things is very confusing. The order that Will is watching it is what we call novel release order, in which the original light novel that Monogatari series is based off of, we follow that sequence. Now, that's fine. That aside, the reason why Will has to mention Neko Monogatari Black, Neko Monogatari White, Kabuki Monogatari, and also Hana-Monogatari is because the shit show of what happens afterwards. Because similarly with Kizu Monogatari, which is a 3-movie trilogy prequel for Bakemonogatari, got released years after Bakemonogatari. And since the release, like before the release of Kizu Monogatari, other shows in the Monogatari series has been adapted. So
it'd be nice for me to be able to explain some stuff too, because like so far it's just been you saying a lot of stuff, and I haven't really been saying much for the past 10 minutes.
Will, how's it going?
I don't really want to talk about this anymore. I'd rather just hear you talk about Monogatari and JoJo.
Don't be that. Come on.
Well, I mean, like you were so upbeat about shitting on JoJo, and then now all of a sudden now you want to maybe not shit so much on Monogatari. So I guess
I think you are utterly convinced that I do not like JoJo Part 3, but please go on.
I'm also utterly convinced that you think that Monogatari is way better. You rather have me, but maybe like I'll change my my shithousery on the ordering of Monogatari.
No,
right?
you do what you want to do.
Right. No. So it's really ridiculous that you constantly have to go back and forth in terms of looking at the watch orders of how to enjoy and watch Monogatari, because once you get done with Bakemonogatari and then go back into watching a prequel, which is Kizu, and then go back into the future, which is Nisei Monogatari, you then have Neko Monogatari Black, which is a prequel of Bakemonogatari, but happens after Kizu Monogatari. And then after that, you then have Neko Monogatari White, or Shiro. But that's also not part of the first season. It's part of the second season of the Monogatari series. So then you watch the first 5 episodes, which covers that particular arc of Monogatari. And then after that, you then have Kabuki Monogatari, which is the next novel within the Monogatari series. After that, you then think, okay, well, I'm 9 episodes into the second season. I just continue watching, right? No, you then have to take a break from it, because 1 year after the second season release, you then have Hana-Monogatari, which in the novel order is actually what happens after Kabuki Monogatari, but because it didn't come out at the time until like 12 months later, you had to then wait, or just, if you're watching it now, you have to stop watching second season and then pick up Hana-Monogatari, watch those 5 episodes, or 4, I think it's 5 episodes, and then after that, then go into the rest of the second season. And yeah, it's really fucking annoying. But, it's just a release order. It doesn't take away from enjoying what happens in the show. So, yeah, enough talking about the clusterfuck scheduling that is Monogatari, as well as JoJo Part 3. Let's just get into the content. Shall we start off with JoJo? Should we go into Monogatari?
I mean, I don't mind, but you want to flip a coin, or you just want to decide right here, right now?
Well, right now, in terms of what's on the docket, JoJo comes first. So
sure. So my non-spoiler, because what we're going to do is have a non-spoilery discussion about my JoJo experience and Will's Monogatari experience. We have a short, couple of seconds of silence, and then go straight into spoilers. So therefore, you're allowed to hear. Not allowed. You can hear what we think.
We give you permission.
We give you permission of what our thoughts are before getting spoiled so you can join us along this adventure. Now, before going into JoJo Part 3, I already know quite a bit about JoJo, just like pretty much a lot of weebs. I know that JoJo Part 3 introduces a lot of things that will end up being a staple, trademark characteristics of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Yeah, just generally you get it a lot from like meme and like friend and cultural osmosis.
Right. So, for example, the introduction of stands, which is what JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is absolutely known for, is introduced here, whereas in Part 1 and Part 2, it was more of Hamon, which is kind of like this chi energy thing. But now it is manifested into the thing that we now know as stands. Furthermore, the main character is, again, another JoJo. This time it is Jotaro Joestar. And this...
No.
Why?
It's Jotaro Kujo. He has a Japanese dad.
Oh, that's right. Oh, right, because the mom is the JoJo. Okay.
I see where this is going.
I see where this is going. Okay. My bad, Will.
You fucking hate JoJo Part 3, don't you?
Jotaro's appearance and, I guess, getup is extremely iconic, not only because of his stature, like that reminisces of Fist of the North Star, which is a very well-known Japanese series.
Probably the most recognizable JoJo of the however many there are. Currently,
exactly.
There are 8.
So it is definitely that Jotaro is not the poster child, but is definitely the image that a lot of people think about when they think of JoJo in general.
It's much like people would assume would say that the first ever opening of the JoJo series, which was for Battle Tendency, yeah, that one they would say that is Phantom Blood. Yeah, so the opening for Phantom Blood, they would say that was the iconic JoJo opening. Jotaro Kujo would be like the most recognizable JoJo of the 8. But, that really does depend on how you feel about the other JoJos, how you feel about the other openings.
Okay. I think JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stardust Crusaders, also known as JoJo Part 3, is not only one of the most important JoJos that I've watched, because I've only watched Part 1, 2, and 3, but it is the most uneven JoJo's Bizarre Adventure I have seen. Granted, it's only Part 1 and Part 2 in comparison, and technically, I did not finish all of Part 3, obviously. That's for next time. So there's a very high chance that my opinion will change, because depending on the teases at the end of the 24th episode, it looks to be very hype and badass. But what problems I've had with JoJo Part 1 and Part 2 has escalated in Part 3. On the other side, the things that I love about JoJo in Part 1 and Part 2 have also escalated. So the way that I described it to Will is that it kind of ping-pongs between me loving JoJo Part 3, Season 1, and also hating JoJo Part 3, Season 1. I also think that there is an argument that can be made about some faithfulness to the manga source versus kind of to be in with the times currently, because JoJo, the manga for Part 3, has been made a while ago in terms of the manga. The anime obviously came out a number of years ago, but I think even then, when the anime came out, there were a number of things that I did not like at all about the anime that to me don't really add that much to the overall narrative, that I don't understand why you would include it other than its faithfulness. What do you think, Will? Do you want me to list examples?
What are you exactly alluding to?
All right, so one of the problems that I've had with Part 1 and Part 2 has always been the portrayal of female characters. I think with Part 1, there's not much to say other than damsel in distress. Part 2 has Lisa, which kind of gets butchered. And Part 3 has Jotaro's mom, which, look, we're trying to dance around spoilers, but the issue involves Jotaro's mom, and then there's also a bunch of random schoolgirls that swoon over Jotaro, which I don't think is that big of a deal at all. It's the mom that actually I thought was the thing that stood out to me, which is Jotaro's personality is very stoic, right? Like, he's supposed to be man of few words, but actually he's a delinquent, but he really cares about his friends and family. He just doesn't really show it in the way that, a typical person would. He cares, but he doesn't like showing it off to other people.
I don't really hear any problems with that right now at all.
Now, the issue
is it because he calls her a bitch?
Yes, absolutely.
He's a 17-year-old delinquent.
So,
that being, what would you expect from a rebellious kid? Koyomi Aragi molests children.
Yeah, and I'm not okay
tries
with
to fuck girls. Too.
I'm
so
not okay with that either.
So I mean, like, you're kind of like looking at under a microscope where it's like, what would you expect like a 17-year-old delinquent to do in this situation like this? Like a rebellious teenager. You're acting like kids don't do this. Whereas like a 17-year-old going around and fondling a 12-year-old's breasts, like that's something you can overlook.
I'm not okay with that either.
Right.
I'm not saying that.
But then I think like, is it really that much of a problem? He doesn't care about her in the end. I mean, the fact that
he does, and that's the problem. If you remove the bitch insult, it doesn't detract anything from the issue, because obviously Jotaro wants to be a bit of a tsundere to the mom. He already does that with his cold shoulder and his lack of response. But we both know that he cares very deeply about the mom. In fact, the mom is the central issue that surrounds the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Why have the bitch thing there? Like, why? It's the only thing is that, like, it just accentuates that nature.
But because he's a fucking 17-year-old, like, rebellious teenager. What else did you expect him to do or say?
Don't do that.
It's kind of, well, now you're just expecting him to be an obedient child who has to love and cherish his mother.
Because if you remove the bitch part, okay.
I think you're kind of like blowing that one a bit too. Like, again, this is the kind of discourse we want, because like I don't necessarily need to agree or disagree with your opinion, but like I also feel like this is kind of something that you're maybe kind of blowing out of proportion. Like, there's definitely a lot of things in JoJo that like for sure I definitely agree with. Right, that like does make it wrong, or definitely makes some people uncomfortable. I get that. I totally get that. I think that one might not be an area of focus, though. There are other things.
It just stood out to me. That's all. I'm not saying like that. Therefore, like, for example, you saying earlier about the Monogatari series and about me being okay with those questionable things. I never did. Never said that since the beginning, and I don't agree with that. Right. So you accusing me of that is not very fair. And also, I'm not insulting your character either by saying that Jotaro, in kind of having that insult to the mom, is necessary, indicative of you as a person consuming JoJo.
Yeah, I mean, you never said that either. But it's more, I'm just kind of wondering, like, is it really that consequential or non-consequential? It's just a remark from what you would expect as part of a teenager's script.
The other thing that stood out to me was throughout this journey. So JoJo, along with his gang of friends, embark on this journey that at the end of season 1 of part 3 arrives at the destination but doesn't arrive at, I guess, the end goal, right? Some of those locations that they go through, which I'll just say it goes through Asia, various locations, and then it goes all the way down, and they even show you a map of all these locations, right? Most of them almost are great because they spend a great deal of time not only showing the varied amount of backgrounds and the amount how the atmosphere is different, they also go an extra step. And this is a part where I guess not a lot of people who listen to this podcast would know, that Will and I would definitely know, is that it takes place in Hong Kong for part of this journey. There was a segment that they talk about like etiquette within a restaurant that deals with tea and a hand gesture. And I can tell you for a fact that it's accurate. And I like that they do that, because it's unnecessary, but it's in a way that shows like they're being authentic, and they're kind of just being like, oh, this is not just another location for the sake of it. We actually want to accentuate this. They did that with the haggling at one point in another location, kind of say like, this is how you kind of haggle, at least the basics of it. But they show it, they demonstrate it, and the results of it. And I like that. It's great. Is it necessary? No, but it adds to that.
Yeah,
now,
but in that sense, then it's also just like, was it necessary for him to call his mom a bitch? Right?
Exactly.
But like, it wasn't. But he did it. And so like, why is it that like that one was so much of a focus? But then when it comes to like the haggling culture, the tea culture. It's like that's cool, that's fine.
Because
it would extra
because personally, I don't like people calling their mother a bitch. I don't care if you're a delinquent or not.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean like you're not allowed to. I just don't like that.
Okay.
How is that wrong?
I'm not saying it's wrong.
If you're saying that Joe,
I'm just like, it seems like this is like the core area of what you didn't like about JoJo.
I'm going like bit by bit.
Yeah.
So with the cultural stuff, there was one part where they're in India, and there was a segment where a certain character goes to the bathroom. I thought that segment was completely unnecessary, and borderline like not very sensitive to the culture. We can go into it in spoilers, but that scene in particular, the end of that scene is what is important, which is the villain shows up in some degree. But if you were to cut out everything before and during that, so you just leave what before and after, to me it doesn't add or subtract anything from the overall enjoyment of JoJo. But including it in there, to me, it's just like, why? You don't need to. And it just sounds like you're mocking it in a way. That's all.
Man, I have so many things to say about that. But yeah, let's go on. You're neither right nor wrong. I'm just very confused as these are the things that like led you to not enjoying JoJo.
Did I say I did not enjoy JoJo?
You said it from the beginning. You didn't.
No, I said it has the best and the worst, and it's also the most important. I think it's just like you're misconstruing my words.
Because so far it just seems that like you have a lot of things to shit on, and so far I haven't really heard anything good yet.
Well, because I haven't even gotten to that yet.
Yeah, no, it's just like you're going hot and heavy on things that I feel like are not necessarily consequential to like all the things I had wrong with JoJo. That wasn't it. I thought that you might have had other things, and I was just kind of waiting. It's like, these are actually not things that I really thought was much of an issue. But again, like these are your opinions. I have nothing to say. I can't say you're wrong, right?
Now, in terms of the writing, what JoJo Part 3 and I guess future JoJos do is that they use a motif. In this case, they use tarot cards, arcana, and all of the JoJo stands in Part 3 at least, or at least the ones that I've seen so far, all represent a certain arcana. And if you played games like Persona, the RPG series, or just even know tarot cards in general, you would know like the strength arcana is Jotaro's kind of arcana, and Platinum Star is the name of the stand. And then all these villains and good guys all have these arcanas. One of, I guess, not necessarily an issue, but one thing that I've noticed is that the amount of villains in season 1 is a lot, like a hell of a lot. And the amount that I cared about each villain varies wildly. There are some that are like really good, like awesome. Then there are some that are just like you could have not, why waste time on this? It felt like a bit of a monster of the week type scenario. Not all of them do, of course. I think, for example, the Death Arcana was really good. The Lover Arcana was extremely good. I even think that the Hanged Man...
Why are you calling them Arcanas?
Okay, because I don't want to imply the name of the stand.
Then just say whatever stand it is.
Because I don't remember also.
Then just say the Death Stand.
Okay.
Or whatever stand.
Okay. I like the Death Stand. I like
don't mold it into something else. This is still very much a JoJo show.
I like Death Stand. I like the Lover Stand a lot.
I do agree with you, though. I do agree that in terms of this is essentially like the main problem that I had with Part 3 first season or section. Okay, now it's really fucking annoying. Like there are definitely a lot of characters and a lot of stands, and the whole thing about JoJo is that you try to introduce as many characters, as many wacky powers. But a lot of them don't really have a lasting impression, and some of them are like, as much as they are used as comic relief, the jokes come off as either corny or unnecessary. So you kind of then think, yeah, like you said, right? Like, why is this person there? This person doesn't necessarily need to be there.
Like, another thing that I also want to say is that based on the amount of stands that are left to be revealed, because the amount of tarot arcanas is limited, because that's just the fact. It's like suits of cards. That number is way smaller than the ones that have already been revealed. And that to me is extra exciting, because then that means that each revealed stand gets more time, and theoretically, and again, I have no idea because this is just my assumption, that each battle would be more intricate and crazy.
So then, based on that, then did you think the pacing of this first part was kind of off?
Very.
Right? It wasn't kind of, it was very off.
Very.
Because there are parts where it's like they've been traveling a long time, things happen, but then after like 5 episodes, you're like, yeah, no, there were like 3 or 4 stand battles, but none of them were really memorable.
Yeah.
Right? That I thought was like the biggest issue with part 1 of Stardust Crusaders, which then you think about it, like how it compares to the first 2 parts, right? Like of Phantom Blood and Battle Tendency. Before, I probably thought I would have said that Phantom Blood was like the worst part of JoJo, but then there was only like 10 episodes of it, whereas Stardust Crusaders Part 1 is 24 episodes, and it takes a long time to get to that part where you're like, okay, now shit's about to hit the fan. Things are going to get crazy. I think, like, generally, not just you and me, but like a lot of people who have issues with that particular part of JoJo, it's down to the pacing. Down to pacing, unnecessary characters, corniness, I guess, like, the delivery of certain lines.
Right.
Yeah.
I also think that, and this is obviously because the source manga has already been written, so you're not going to deviate from that. I get that. But at least I would like to know why can't, and this is like maybe that not much of an issue, why can't there be more good guys and then have them be eliminated, let's just say, right? Because throughout this whole time, with the exception of one major event, and I'll just leave it at that, there really isn't. It's more like an obstacle course rather than something that I felt that put the main characters in danger. And even towards the last episode, I thought like there will be real danger, and actually it played off either in a way that I thought was it was resolved due to sheer dumb luck, or just like, yo, Jotaro do Jotaro things, which is still dope, but it's also like, okay, there's no sense of urgency or danger.
I mean, you saw what happened to the characters, the support characters in Phantom Blood and Battle Tendency, right?
Yeah, I know.
So,
yeah, I'm not saying
it's just in the end, it's unfortunate because it is split in half, and you just happen to watch the not so good half.
And as I said, like the teaser that they give, even though it's only just a couple of minutes, already indicates to me that like the hype train is like raging. It's gonna be great, honestly. And maybe I'll be proven wrong. I don't think so.
How would you just, if you were just to look at this part alone, though? I mean, like we can go into the spoilers as much as we want to later on.
Yep.
But if you were just to rate this particular part alone, like, how hot are you on it? How cold are you on it?
So,
because if you were to say that this is, like, in terms of your opinion, like, what the weaker, if not even like maybe the weakest parts you've seen so far, I wouldn't like disagree.
So this is something that I've been wrestling with for a couple of days, and I keep flip-flopping back and forth. And I think the thing that ultimately comes down to is I can't remove what I know of JoJo before I consume JoJo, because I already know it through osmosis. And I knew that stands don't get introduced right away, and they get introduced at this part, because it's not hard to know that. So, I think the stands are not only so important, but the creative powers, some of them are fucking crazy. There was one that involves, let's say, mirrors. And I thought, like, the way that that person used the powers and the way that the good guys had to overcome that is fucking fantastic. I think that there are certain characters that, how will they overcome this? For example, with the death stand, I was like, there's just no fucking way. It's game over. But then the way that they resolved it, I was just like, really? I mean, I guess you somehow made it, but it was all indications that you were going to fail. So the unevenness, that's my main issue. I don't think JoJo Part 3 is bad. In fact, I think Part 2 is the best, in my opinion, so far. Part 3, Season 1 is second, and Part 1 is last, but it's mainly because the other two are crazier, basically, and more bizarre, really.
I think the other thing is with the first half of Part 3 that there are a lot of plot loopholes or a lot of things where it's like it doesn't really make sense, and sometimes the writers kind of create like a quick like cop out to essentially pave over certain areas where it's just like that part doesn't really make sense, or it's like this is a little too convenient for you to all of a sudden move from point A to point B. For the most part, there are definitely some things that you that you mentioned about part 3, which I don't agree with, but there's definitely parts where it's like, no, I think you got like that one around the head. Like, I definitely do have problems with the way it's paced, with the way certain characters are used, or even their purpose within part 3, section 1, whatever, the first half.
Yep.
And hopefully, then, like when you go into the second half of Stardust Crusaders, that who knows, maybe those issues will still persist. Maybe a new layer comes in, and you maybe focus on those and forget about what made you
I think
uncomfortable, or
I think that's the problem, because what happened was, as I said, I bounced back and forth between love and hate. And the reason why I have less of that problem with part 1 and part 2 is not only because they were less accentuated, because part 3 really drives it up, and that's the whole point.
Part 3 is long as fuck.
Exactly. And also because the unevenness makes me, when the dips, makes me notice stupid shit that, honestly, you should turn your brain off. I've been saying this since part 1. It's not to insult the viewers. It's just, don't think about it, because the whole point is a fun ride.
If you try and Sherlock Holmes the little loopholes,
there are plot holes everywhere.
Yeah.
But the problem is, when I am not enjoying myself, I tend to then think about those things. But then when I'm enjoying myself, like, I know this, other people may not find it as a big deal. The fact that there are 2 JoJos just traveling together, I think it's the dopest shit ever. I also think Grandpa Jojo is just like the dumb thing that is just fucking amazing, because
because if you remember when watching, like, Battle Tendency, it's the same JoJo.
Yeah.
He hasn't changed, he just got older.
Yeah, exactly. And some things have changed, some things have not, and I'm just like, bro, you're back.
He's also still got those, cultural insensitivities about how his daughter...
He also says, oh shit.
Yeah.
And it's not censored. And I'm just like, yeah, dog, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, his powers is hilarious.
Doesn't curb his racism either. Well, not really racist. He just has some cultural insensitivities, and how he's not happy that his daughter ran off and married a Japanese man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think that the bizarreness, obviously, the bizarre nature of part 3 is amped up. And I think the best illustration of that is actually in the very beginning, when, let's just say, the main villain, they have to find out where he is located. Spoiler alert, it's the end destination at the end of season 1. It's not hard to find, but I won't say it here until spoilers. And how they have to find it was, they saw something, then went to a library of the property of the Joestars, or Jotaro's family, and found a book that somehow just so happens to be there, and just so happens to have that piece of information that was crucial to figuring out where to go. And I was just like, this is one of those moments where it was the best, because if you think about it, it's so fucking stupid and dumb in a plot hole, but I love it, because it was just like, you're just leaning in on it. I love it, bro. Like, mad props. Like, I wish I could fist bump JoJo Part 3 when that was happening. And there are a lot of those moments. So, look, I've been going on for quite a bit, but what I will say from the non-spoilery section is, I still think JoJo Part 3 Season 1 is an 8. But the amount of times it flipped to 7 and 9 is so often.
Did it ever drop down to a 6?
Never. Like, to be fair, like, even like my quote-unquote problems that I had in the beginning, which Will and I kind of had a very heated discussion of, it did stand out to me, but it honestly, the reason why I also highlighted that is because there's not much else that I can say that I really feel that negative about JoJo Part 3, other than like the pacing and the abundance of villains, which seems to not be an uncommon thing to say, at least, or not surprising. So it averages out to an 8, but the amount of times that I waver is so much, so often, that in Part 1 and Part 2, it was just very easy for me to, like, straight 8, and that's it, and it never wavered.
Whereas this is just like, after 3 episodes, it's a 7. Oh, no, back up to an 8. That's a 9 now. Oh,
yeah.
It's a 9. It's totally a 9. Oh, it's a 7 now.
Because originally, we were going to watch 12 episodes, and then that's it, and then the next time we would watch the other 12. And halfway through, I was just like, Will, I can't do this, because there is a very high chance that at the 12th episode mark is incorrect in terms of how I actually would feel, and I was right.
Yeah.
So, at the end of the day, it's ranked the same as all the other previous JoJo's, but the journey and the amount of turbulence and the amount of elation is so much more than the first 2 JoJo's. And I'm excited for Season 2 of Part 3 because it looks insane, even though I don't know anything.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, Jesus.
On to Monogatari.
Yep.
Finally.
Your turn to lay it out on me.
So, okay, I don't actually necessarily have anything negative to say. It's more. So the whole point of Monogatari is that with each section, with each novel, they usually cover specific characters, right? So for example, you'll cover Mayoi, who is the snail. You'll cover Hitagi, who is the crab. You'll cover Tsubasa, who is the cats, and so on and so forth. So in the four sections that I've been watching, which are Neko Black, Neko White, Kabuki, as well as Hana. The first two, which are Neko, is very poignantly focused on Tsubasa. So the two different versions of when she acquires her cat form. This is essentially playing in as a sequel to Kizumonogatari, but a prequel to Bakemonogatari. So all the events that happen within Neko White, Neko Black, and then Neko White happen after the three Kizumonogatari movies.
And that is why novel release order and another watch order is chronological order. And that is very different because, as Will mentioned, if you watch it in novel release order, it's already jumbled. So, anyways, yep, go on.
And like, I can understand why people will want to watch it in like actual chronological order, starting off with Kizu Monogatari, unless there's something before that, I don't know. But so going from Kizu and then Neko's and then Bakemonogataris, you have that look in your eyes where it's like, well, I don't know. Maybe there might be a prequel to the sequel, a pre-sequel.
I was going to make a really bad joke, but go on.
Okay. Maybe we'll hear it later. Yeah, like I think because of the way that Bakemonogatari opens up, where you see all the main girls, and then there's of course a sixth main girl that shows up with much more importance later on. It just makes sense to start off with Bakemonogatari. That's how I feel. I'm sure Jason would agree because that's also the order he went about watching it.
Yeah, I think that for a first watch through, I almost would say it's novel release order or nothing. After that, though, I think chronological order is kind of cool because you see a lot of references and foreshadowing and callbacks that you would not notice if you watch it in novel release order. So that's my take on it. I could be wrong, but that's how I feel.
Yeah. So generally, as mentioned then, right? So Nekomonogatari, both black and white, focus on Tsubasa or Hanekawa, the former pigtailed big titty girl who unfortunately decides that halfway through she's going to cut her hair and make it short. More on that later when we get into the spoiler section. After the first two Neko sections, we then go into Kabuki Monogatari.
Okay.
Now, at this point, we're already like 4 or 5 episodes into the second season of Monogatari.
Now, I just want to ask something about Neko Monogatari in particular, because I guess if you wiki it, you know that Neko is split into the end of what would be season 1 and the start of season 2.
So Neko Black is 4 episodes, which are the end of season 1, and then the first 5 episodes of second season. Those 5 episodes are Neko Shiro or Neko White.
Did you think that the disconnect was a lot, or did you not notice it, or it wasn't that big of a deal?
It wasn't really much of a big deal. I think that they did a good job in containing the stories really well, because when you're watching like Neko, it is like essentially the beginning of certain things, and then afterwards when you solve that particular issue, that particular problem, you then go into the aftermath, which is Neko White, and you see like a whole nother part of the Tsubasa saga, which has some very tasteful moments. We can definitely talk about that later on.
Should.
Then going into Kabuki Monogatari, this one is a different one because for like there are series within Monogatari that focus on more than just one girl. This one was a bit of like a focus on 2 girls. One of which is Shinobu, which is the vampire girl, and Mayori, which is the little snail girl. Can't really say much, but I actually really like that part.
I have to say,
that art was actually probably at the moment one of my favorites.
Of all the Monogatari arcs, Kabuki Monogatari is by far my favorite because the contents that was discussed in the plot, how it resolves it, is very poetic, beautiful, tragic and it also has the trademarks that we love about the dialogue, and also minimizes a lot of the not good things that I like about that I hate about Monogatari.
The thing with Kabuki as well is it covers a lot of themes, tropes, genres, and it all comes together very cohesively as well. It's not like, oh, you have this particular element, oh, and then like a thrilling substance comes in, and all of a sudden it's like you're kind of trying to jam pack 2 or 3 different things and make it work. No, it's because of how it's written, it kind of flows and intermingles very, very smoothly, so that when you're watching this very supernatural monster girl kind of show with a very, very dense but also smart at the same time male character trying to navigate through like a changing of times within like, I'll just say it, there's a little bit of like a travel aspect to Kabuki Monogatari, but it all flows really well. Never at any moment was I thinking like, what is going on here? I'm kind of like stumped because it's say that when you're watching like any sort of like those thrillers or sci-fi sort of supernatural shows, and there's always elements of like ghosts, ethereal spirits, or time travel, or augmented reality and whatnot. It can be a bit like, what's going on here? It's a bit jarring. I can't really process everything. But within the 4 episodes, I think it's 4 episodes.
Yeah,
for Kabuki,
yeah, I think so.
It's all done really well. It all blends together very nicely, and never did it skip a beat. You just kept on trucking along with it, and when the next discovery happens, when the next plot point shows up, you're like, yeah, I totally know that was going to happen, even though it's also like 50 different stimuli just crashing into each other.
I do think the pacing of cliffhangers and introduction of the next episode and the previous episode was very well done and very kind of. I mean, obviously, it's a novel, it's a light novel, so it's one whole story. So of course, it sounds good, but to cut it at various points was a very well done choice to cut it at those points.
Now, onto the last of the 4, Hana-Monogatari. It's the first time when you actually don't really see many of the main girls. And unfortunately, I say main girls is because so far on this journey, the main people we've seen so far are the Araragi sisters, which are Tsukihi and Karen, who were very, very much featured in Nisei, unfortunately. And also some parts of Kabuki, of Neko Monogatari Black. They were in some of the intro sequences. They're going to play a much more important part later on, so I'm actually quite excited to see how they grow. Just not like the
Yeah, I know
parts.
I know.
Then there's also Hanekawa, Tsubasa Hanekawa, who is essentially like, if it wasn't for like Hitagi, like she's like the de facto like Monogatari girl of season 1.
I mean, you have Neko Monogatari that you watched, where it's basically 9 episodes of arc that involves her. I mean, yeah, it's split into 2 parts, but she's important.
There's not many like outside of Shinobu, right? There's not many of the main female characters that actually have almost a full cour dedicated to them to explain their backstory and like why, because everybody has some sort of monster within them.
Yeah.
And you can see from beginning to end how Hanekawa became the Bakeneko that she is. So it's cool to see that. But the other characters also get a little bit more of like an inside. Like I think the only one that we didn't really see much of is Nadeko, the girl that's Hanekawa voices, Snick Girl.
There is a reason for that, but you won't know yet.
And so I'm waiting for her to come. So now it is up to Monkey Girl, which I forgot her name.
Kambaru, Suruga,
yeah, Suruga Monkey, right? Like, so it's finally her turn. I like her, but she's also not very memorable at this point. And unfortunately, I felt that this was not necessarily the most memorable of arcs. Just how like I felt that Kabuki was like extremely well done, very well told. Hana is we already knew that if you're watching Monogatari, you gotta be prepared for heavy dialogue and exposition, and this was that. I just didn't feel like it was a strong enough hook for me to be like, yeah, no, I'm totally vibing with the story. Because anytime like Senjukahara was talking, fuck, I'm listening to her. Anytime like Tsubasa, like Hanekawa was talking, yeah. Or no, who's the
Oshino Meme.
Yeah. Anytime he talks, it's like, yo, like you literally show up once every 3 episodes, but I want to hear what you gotta say. And then it's like when Shinobu talks, like, yeah, I want her to tell me she wants to step on my neck and maybe kiss her feet. I would totally do that. But when it came to Kambaru, like, I don't know, she hasn't had that impact on me yet.
Okay, so I think that Hana-Monogatari is one of my more favorite, not the best, but above average. But all the things that Will mentioned, namely Kanbaru not being a very deep character, and some of the
from now at least up until this point.
Yes,
right.
And some of your well-known favorites either have a very minor role or sometimes don't even show up, is perfectly understandable to the point where I 100% agree with you, and I'll take that to the grave. The reason why and also I think the OP for Hana-Monogatari is so whatever. It's just rock.
Yeah, speaking of which, should I just say it now?
Yep.
I didn't rank any of the OPs for these 4 sections.
Don't worry, we'll do it at some point.
I don't think I would even rank them at all because I think they're kind of.
Oh, they didn't make the cut.
They don't. No, I thought they were all pretty boring. But that's because you don't have like the Mayoi one from season 1. You don't have the little the Araragi sister dance like one from.
Oh yeah, Platinum Disco. Yeah,
right? Like those were like those were S tier.
You don't have Renai Circulation.
Exactly, and then you have like the 4 for the Nekos, Hana and Kabuki. I'm like, they just didn't.
No, they're all right?
Yeah, but the problem is it's like when you have Renai, when you have Platinum Disco, like those kinds of tracks, it's hard to have anything like stack up to that top 5, top 10. I'm sure there's gonna be more music to dude. There's so many fucking parts to Monogatari I haven't even gotten to yet.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's just as many Monogatari OPs than there are with Jojo. Jojo might even have less.
Yeah, I think Jojo has less, but it's not like that far off. But yeah, 100%. So the other thing I will say that why I care so much about Hana-Monogatari is because if you were to watch it in novel release order, it is the best. If you were to watch Hana-Monogatari like off of the novel release order, because technically it was made and released in 2014 after the whole second season, I think a lot of the impact of Hana-Monogatari is outright useless at that point. I think that without going into spoilers, Hana-Monogatari is very good because it tells you a lot of things that you have actually yet to know. And you might have a lot of questions. But that was done on purpose. Obviously, because in novel release order, that was the way it was done. But if you were to do it after the fact by knowing all the answers and then get asked the questions, it's like, well, then why are you asking the question in the first place? So, do you understand sort of what I'm getting around to, Will?
Kinda. But then again, it's also like because I haven't watched the rest of the second season.
And absolutely.
Right?
And
in the same way where it's like you can talk about your qualms with JoJo Part 3, but at the same time you're also like, but my opinion could change after watching second half. For me, it's also like if I finish like Otori, Kiyomi, there's something. There's so many different parts to the rest of the second season. And once I get around to finishing like the second season of Monogatari, things should change. I might even go back and watch Hana-Monogatari and say, like, where does this fit within the second season, and how much of an impact does it actually play?
And that is exactly what happened to me. I did not care about Hana-Monogatari at all when I was at that point in time that you stopped. But after the fact, when I even rewatched it, I was like, oh, wow, okay, all right, okay.
I mean, first time around watching, I was like, basketball's cool.
Yeah, basketball's cool, okay. Yeah, there's like this random person that apparently Kanbaru knows that is doing stuff that are maybe not so good, but who gives a shit because whatever, right?
Oh, yeah, I didn't know you could ride a bicycle that way.
I didn't know you can run that fast, and Yakuniku's pretty dope.
Yeah, Yakuniku's...
It was great. That scene was just looking at the Yakuniku alone.
Now I'm thinking about it, too. I had Yakiniku last night as well. I'm still craving it. Okay. So, overall, I think that's the 4 arcs, right? Neko Black, Neko White, Kabuki, and Hana. They're all good. I think the problem I have right now is because when you get introduced to all the main girls in Bakemonogatari, when you then go straight into fucking, like, one of the craziest movie trilogies in Kizumonogatari to
the shit show,
just some real S tier 42069 degeneracy in Nisei Monogatari, like you kind of have seen the full spectrum of what's so good and what's so like awful about Monogatari. But again, it's just like what you say with like JoJo not being able to decide whether it's good or bad, or somewhere in between. You then look at what you've experienced from Monogatari and then think the bad shit that happens in there, is it really that consequential to my enjoyment of the Monogatari series as a whole? Like when I talked about the whole Koyomi going around touching kids kind of thing, yes, to this point, it still really bothers me.
And it will always be bad.
And I think you agree too, because you were also like, if this is one thing that you like don't like, I'm on your side because
I mean, it's many things.
I don't think anybody else would disagree.
Yeah, I mean, there's many things I don't like about Monogatari, and that is one of on the forefront of things.
It's a bit too on the nose of like how uncomfortable it can make you because, Jesus,
yeah,
like, the fact that it's even in the script that Nishio had to basically say, "Oh, I totally want to do da 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 to you," and then you're like, bro, you can't say that. No, you absolutely do not.
Yeah, don't.
I know this is all fictional, but like, there's still a line. There's still a fictional line.
One thing that I will say about the 4 arcs that you watched was they cover quite a lot of rather heavy, dark issues. I think with the Hanakawa 2 arcs in particular, they cover some pretty not disgusting, but like pretty dark places.
I think like when you look at Bakemonogatari, when you look at especially Kizumonogatari as well, given how bloody and gory those earlier parts, maybe not so much Bakemonogatari, but definitely Kizumonogatari.
Definitely, yeah.
Like you're always like thinking that you're facing life and death no matter what as a theme, as a thing that provides like thematic discourse when talking about the Monogatari series, but it's none more apparent than in Neko Black and White, none more apparent in Hana, even in Kabuki, when it's like what it really means to be alive, what it really means to die and suffer loss. Like that's like
what it means to be loved and what it means not to be loved.
To have love and then have been loved and then have love taken away from you as well. Like there's a lot of very, very like dark and deep themes within those particular four arcs where it's like it may not be that visual spectacle that you had seen from Bakemonogatari and Kabuki and then Kizumonogatari, but if you look at it from a literary sense, when you look at it as part of like metaphors and imagery, it can actually be a lot deeper and provide a much more enriching experience compared to, you know, watching Araragi get his head and arms ripped off by Shinobu. And then put together because he's now half demon, half vampire, half human.
I just think that, first of all, you're absolutely right. I think it's just the difference between physical trauma and physical violence versus mental trauma and mental violence. And,
oh man, there are times I've been punched in the face many a time when I was younger, but like there are times when like someone has said something to me before, and that pain was way worse than getting punched in the face.
Yep. So
you know, and that's what Hana-Monogatari is. That's what Neko Monogatari is.
All right, I think that is your thoughts, Will?
I think at this point, the more I talk, the more it's like I want to start talking about the spoilers.
Okay.
Yeah, we should.
Sure.
Give it 5 seconds.
So no rankings for me right now because the amount of stands and JoJo parts are very small. So we're going to chill. Will's going to chill on the Monogatari rankings. But we promise you at some point we will actually do a comprehensive ranking.
We're gonna we have to then, huh? Okay,
yep.
All right.
Yeah, no, we have to. I have to, too, with the stands. Okay.
Okay.
5 seconds for JoJo first.
Okay.
So okay.
Let's
you go.
So let's go into the whole JoJo thing, right? So you've seen all the stands for the first time, okay?
Yeah.
Is there a particular stand that you were like, this is probably one of like the smartest things I've seen, or like this is like an actually amazing like stand battle? I hope that there's more of these coming up in part 2, or were there any that are like, why does this even exist as a stand?
Actually, one other thing, even though we are in spoilers, so it's too late. The last episode 24, their opening credits is slightly different than all the previous opening credits. Do you actually know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
And it was fantastic. I thought I did a double take, but then I was like, I gotta listen to it like 3 more times.
They definitely have certain edits and certain changes depending on which episode or how far into a certain season you are.
Sorry, but I had to...
It's those little Easter eggs, I suppose.
Yeah, I had to put it out there first before I forget. So, anyways, I'm sorry, you were saying about the JoJos and the battles and the stands?
What did you think of like Hierophant Green or Silver Chariot or her, like basically like the squad, right?
So
with Avdol and
that character we need to talk hard about.
Okay.
So let's talk about all the other characters in the posse first.
You like cherries?
Dude, like Cherry Boy, like you heard that saying before,
Yeah.
and I know the meme, but to see it in action, I'm just like, oh shit.
They were in Singapore at that point.
Yes,
right? Yeah.
but guess what? I was like, oh okay, it's just that one time. Nuh-uh, bro.
No.
And that was the second. And then when it happened the second time, I was just like, you got me, Jojo. You got me. Like fist bump.
So, like, I think that's actually because you were talking about it too when you were saying like, what's the point in this, Jojo? Why did you have it? It's also like on the inverse too. It's like there really is no need for Kakuin to tongue fuck that cherry, but the fact that he did it, it's also like it's fine, cool, okay. This is kind of funny.
I like Kakuin the least, but he has the most amount of moments in JoJo Part 3 Season 1 that I love because they're in the submarine at one point, and then they do like a sign signal for scuba diving, and I know those signals for scuba diving. I know there are hand signals in scuba diving. But
do you still have your patty?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
So then
not expired?
it never expires.
Oh, it doesn't?
It doesn't.
You don't have to do a refresh course. Okay.
I mean, they would refresh you, but
Right.
then if you pass a certain level, you never have to.
Oh, I should get mine done.
Yeah, you should. It's great. Deep diving and also nitrox is great. Okay, sorry. When they did like the high five and like the stupid translation, like what was it? Oh shit! It was like underwater. My underpants is underwater or something, and I was just like, guys, the submarine is sinking. You're almost all gonna die. You all don't know how to scuba dive, and you decide to do this. Like, mad props, bro. Like, so stupid. I love it.
What did you think of Pomerov? The
My
French...
favorite. He's my favorite of all of the.
See, I kind of thought that he was like that foreign comic relief. I didn't really vibe with him that much. He does like grow on you later on, but if I had to, I actually liked Avdol the most.
Okay, so
Avdol was a bro as fuck.
So now that you mentioned it, let's talk about this because literally at the 12th episode or 11th episode of basically the end of the first Cur, Avdol dies.
Yeah.
And
rest in peace.
Rest in peace. And at that moment, I thought it was extremely not awesome, but like extremely impactful because for the first time in a while, you see that like there's actual consequences and like good guys can get not only badly hurt but can die. And the fact that Pomerov is like gets guilt over that for like the longest time, as you would, and it's like a trauma, and he kind of has to like work it out with all the other members of the JoJo gang, and for him, he was like, especially with his trauma of his sister, it's obvious, and he's very reckless. He's all comic relief, and he puts himself in situations that gets people fucked up, in this case, killed, only for it to be of no consequences.
They visit a little farm on an island, and then suddenly, like, Avdol's there.
Yeah, and he's been alive this whole time. Oh, by the way, we didn't want to tell you, Palmeth, because you would like tell other people, and then the word will get out. And then part of me is like, you made a point throughout this whole time that because Dio and you, the two JoJos, are connected, therefore he knows what you're thinking and where you are. Like, you made a point several times throughout the whole part to say that. So if you already know that Avdol is still alive, then he would know too. And also, your friend here is like guilting himself to the point of like wrecking himself, and you just decide to not tell him.
Look, even the most ardent of JoJo protectors would agree that it's really hard to explain how the fuck Avdol is alive. And all of a sudden you just show up and be like, "What's up, guys? I'm still here. Oh, you were sad? Oh, I'm sorry about that, bro. Hey, let's continue our journey."
Yeah,
and then Palmer was like, "What the fuck? I legitimately have been guilty. I've had survivor's guilt for like half a Cur. What the fuck is going on?"
And all that time that I thought of character development is now kind of like undermined because, by the way, curveball, psych, he's alive. And that to me is one of the biggest slap in the face, not only for that character, but also just as like a viewer, because for a moment, really, for like several, like 8 to 10 episodes, it really instilled like, dude, they all got pretty fucked up, but they all lived. but they could die. And minus the 2 JoJos, I guess. But even then, maybe that's not even safe too. And I kept doubting myself, be like, how are they going to get out of this? How are they going to live? Only for it to basically kind of throw it in your face and say, guess what? None of them are going to die, at least not yet. And I'm just like, well, fuck you then.
I can't confirm how faithful the adaptation is because I haven't read the manga, at least for part 3. But it just seems like if they were trying to be as faithful as possible, they could have done something about the whole Avdol quote unquote death and then resurrection. I get that, like, you know, he's got a fire chicken for a stand. It's supposed to represent a phoenix, and then you rise from the ashes and whatnot. But
yeah, I get that too, right?
It's like there's an extent to which symbolism can work, whereas this is not even symbolism. This is just straight up like, hey, plot hole, Bo. Just a plot hole.
Yo, Jojo, I hate to tell this to you, but if you want to do symbolism and all that bullshit, don't do it because you're not good at it. You're good at like crazy, like creative powers, absurd situations. Let the talking and let the symbolism and allusions to Monogatari. Like, honestly, it does you no favors in general to dabble in something that is not, in my opinion, JoJo's strong suit.
Yeah, you'll be surprised later on.
Yeah, look,
at the moment, it's only because the fact that like part 3 is not the strongest.
Yeah, like
it does get a little bit more metaphorical at some points, but at the same time, like you said, it's not meant to be.
All right.
Right? When you're trying to look a little too deep into the JoJo looks back and you'd be like, what are you trying to find here? All I'm here is just to muda your face. That's it. That's what JoJo is.
Let's talk about Jotaro. I think Jotaro is a boring character, but besides the boring personality, which almost is like by design, it's like he looks awesome. He's super badass. Man of few words. Every time he talks, it's just like, and it's just one of those like Gurren Lagann things of like, I'm just going to punch the shit out of this. I don't give no fucks. And I just love that kind of gusto and that kind of balls because in many ways, if you were to tell me that like verbally, I'll be like, this sounds boring as fuck. All he does is punch shit. And yes, that's correct. But every time he does, it's just like, yeah, boy, here we go. And the sound effects is fantastic too. Like, so good.
Man, you make a real like wonderful art of insulting it, also picking someone up too. So he's the most boring, but man, I love it when he punches someone in the face. It's like
it's so uneven. That's really what I'm trying to say about at least part 3, season 1. I also think that, like, let's talk about Grandpa Jojo. Dope, dude. Like,
it is a shame though that they were like, oh, you know, like we all suffer from the Dio curse. That's why we have stands. But because your mother Holly is a woman, unfortunately, she's not strong enough to get a stand.
Yeah, that's the other thing too, right? Like, okay, about the bitch comment I said earlier, I still stand by that.
I think that's like, again, it's one of those. Like, it really just depends on which side of the coin you are.
Exactly.
But when it comes to like Holly actually not being powerful enough to have a curse, to have a stand, and therefore she succumbs to death from the curse, like that's where it's like, really? Is it because she's not strong enough?
Oh, yeah, and at first I was like, oh, maybe it's just Araki with, his difficulties writing good female characters. But then, literally, among the villains, there is more than one female character, and one in particular, Grandma, that I thought was done pretty good in terms of, being capable at least. Yeah. Whereas Holly, or I guess she tries to make like an issue of calling her by her Japanese name or something, which I thought was hilarious. She is just like this damsel in distress that, for all intents and purposes, I thought was the very brief moments that I saw her in the beginning were great because she was someone who saw through Jotaro's, brashness and kind of assholeness and be like, he actually really cares. He's just like lashing out. And that's why she pampers him so much and kind of just like brushes aside his antics. And it's true because Jotaro really cares about the mom. And they have this understanding of each other. And that's just the way he is. And that's the way she is. And I thought it was great. Then all of a sudden be like, I'm going to go to the fridge. Oh, wait, there's thorns. Oh, wait, I'm literally debilitating. I might be dead. And I'm like, what? Like, okay. Like, why? Like, can you train? Can you do something? There has to be something because clearly JoJo is all about crazy situations.
Yeah, they're not necessarily for like known for beating around the bush and keeping things kind of like in the background. Like for example, when they find Kakuin in the beginning and he's supposed to be like one of Dio's assassins, and then when they finally overcome him, and then it's like, oh, what could have possibly possessed him to take over and fight against? Oh, what's that big fucking blob in the middle of your fucking forehead?
Oh, it cannot be removed, but guess what? Jotaro can, because he's all about precision and speed. Oh wait, it's eating up his arm, but because he's Jotaro, he can fucking do it. And I'm just like, okay, but your mom is literally there. Araki, you can't write something in or something. Like, I don't know. Look, I'm not saying that I can do a better job, because obviously I can't, honestly. But I don't think that having the mom kind of just basically be bedridden, and obviously that spurs the journey. So I guess in a way, like, that's...
To be fair, I think it's just that simple.
Yeah,
it's just
I know.
that simple. It's like, oh, in order to save your mother, you have to kill the evil big boss Dio, who is all the way in fucking Egypt. But along the way there, you're gonna have several mini bosses to fight.
Yeah, Monster of the Week.
You're gonna collect new friends along the way.
Yeah, okay, let's talk about the last thing I want to talk about, which is the villains.
Yeah.
I think that, for example, the sun stand is fucking stupid. At first, I thought it was dope. And to be honest, the way that they kind of figured it out, I thought was still pretty smart. Then when you kind of get the reveal of who this person is, then you're just like, well, of all the things to look like a stand or the characters, you have all these crazy, fantastical things. You basically have a theater projector as your stand. And I'm just like, that's just fucking lazy at that point. I'm not saying you are, but like comparatively to everyone else, that's lazy.
You can tell that, for Jojo, this is like the first time that Araki was making stands, because it's like a lot of them are hit and miss.
Yeah.
Right? But you slowly see him refining them. I think of the 9 you talk about later on, when you get to the end of part 1 of part 3. I got it.
I mean, season 2.
Yes, season 1 of part 3, when you're at the end and they reveal the last 9, and you're getting ready to go into season 2 of part 3.
Yeah, which is where I am. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be like, that's going to be like the primo stuff, as you are expecting.
Yeah, because you have less monster of the weeks to deal with, then therefore you have more time, because it's still 24 episodes. So I anticipate it's going to be badass. And some of the characters already look badass. I don't even know anything about them. I don't even know what Stan Arcana they have. But I just feel like a lot of the dudes are just like very, very whatever.
Yeah.
I like the lovers, though. I think the lovers battle was pretty funny and pretty like...
You got to the one where they're gambling?
No, I don't think so.
So that should be the beginning of season 2 then. Okay. You're gonna get into some pretty cool fights.
I thought Death Proof was pretty funny. The Death Proof spoof. I thought Osmosis Jones with the lovers was pretty good callback.
Yeah.
I thought Chucky in the hotel room. I don't like Chucky in general, and I don't like that fight. But even I was like, you did it good. Like, I don't like that shit because I just don't like Chucky in general. But
yeah, I find Chucky annoying as fuck.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it's a bad character. I just don't vibe with it. But you did it well, right?
Yeah.
Centerfold. Is it Centerfold? The guy who hides in the mirror.
I think so. Let me pull it up.
Basically, the guy with the cowboy. By the way, the cowboy, he basically did fuck all in general, comparatively.
Spoiler alert. It's the same thing in part 2.
Well, I just also think
in season 2. I mean,
I think that's a bit wasted. I think Grandma was pretty dope. Grandma was fucking.
Oh yeah, Jay Giel. Centerfold.
Yeah. So the son of the Grandma Shaman, right? Like, his character was fucking awesome, and that idea of using the coin is quite ingenious, actually. I just loved it. That whole interaction trying to find it is just fucking fantastic. Okay, Death Proof was more of like, I like Transformers, that type of shit, but that got resolved pretty fast, just like some of them. And I was just like, all right.
That's the thing I like about JoJo, where like when you start unraveling like the power of the stands and how intricate it can get, you appreciate the level of creativity and the amount of time that Araki put into creating these characters. Unfortunately, with season 1 of part 3, there were some very lazy ones.
But I'll tell you the best one. The fucking, like, just, I paused and clapped, was when they were on that ship with the strength stand. I don't even want to spoil it because I think when you find that out, it's fucking crazy, awesome. Yeah, the way that it was resolved is fucking like stupid, but
very stupid.
But everything leading up to that was just like, yeah, no fucking way. What, really? All of it? No. That person? No. Yes. Like, yes.
So then, at that point, you're then introduced to Anne.
I fucking hate her. I think she serves no purpose at all.
Did you, there was a particular shower scene, wasn't there?
A what?
There was a shower scene involving her as well, right?
Really bothers the living shit out of me.
Yeah.
Like, I know that's supposed to be like psycho kind of like thing reference. I don't know if it is, but
it's definitely not Hitchcock, dude. There's no Hitchcock to it whatsoever.
Like, I was just like, bro, why?
You didn't need it.
Yeah, exactly. That's why, like, there are so many things that I was like, it doesn't detract from, by eliminating it doesn't detract from the overall vibe, feel, or the thing that you're trying to say.
Okay, like, even though, like, I don't condone it, or, like, I'm not comfortable with it in Monogatari, I do understand why it exists there. It just doesn't make me feel more comfortable. But, like, with regards to Anne and Jojo, there was absolutely no need for that particular scene.
I don't think there's any need for her in general.
You could make a case for, like, you know, the language that is used, or like the certain like portrayal of cultures. There could be an argument for it, but Anne existing as a character as nothing but a pure damsel in distress is kind of sad.
And then she literally gets like flown away, and then that's like,
yeah,
maybe she comes back. I don't fucking know, but like that was just like whatever about it, like zero impact.
I'll tell you, she doesn't come back because you don't need. She doesn't like add to the plot.
That actually angers me more.
Yeah, for sure. But at the same time, hopefully, everything else you see later on will cheer you up because, like, I'm not mad about Anne existing, but now that you bring it up too, I'm also like, there really was no point in her character.
What about the toilet scene? That was the thing that I was trying to allude to earlier in India.
That's the part where the pigs are at the bottom, right?
Exactly. Like,
yeah.
Like, and with the pole, the guy gives him the pole to sort of push the pigs down. Look, I'm not saying that having it in. Look, my issue is that scene by itself serves no purpose other than a little bit of light comedy, I guess, because the whole point is he comes out of the bathroom, then sees Centerfold in the mirror, and then kind of like doubts himself. That's the whole point of that scene, in my opinion. He leaves and exits away from the group and does that, right?
So apparently pig toilets were a real thing.
Oh, no, it is a real thing. I know this because I also Googled it. I'm not saying it's wrong in terms of historical accuracy.
I had no idea. I'm just looking at it now.
It's like Slumdog Millionaire, but different, almost. Yeah. So I'm not saying that it's historically inaccurate. In fact, if anything, Araki is being very accurate with almost all of the locations of that time. I'm just saying...
it's just a bit too on the nose.
It's just like, why have it there?
Just a bit too much?
Yeah. So that's it. Yeah. So, I also thought the Death Arcana... I was worried that they were going to kill a baby. I was so worried. I was so fucking worried, bro.
Dude, Jojo can go to some places where you're just like kind of questioning... This is fine, right? This is totally fine. Oh my god, that's not fine. What are you doing? Why are you doing this? And then afterwards, you then have to sort of sit back and think, maybe I'm not okay with everything I saw, but because it's JoJo, I'm also totally fine.
But the way it resolves itself, first of all, that whole battle outside of the dream is like Space Madness kind of Among Us type. Like, you're crazy, you're not. I love that, first of all.
Yeah.
Then at the end, when they feed the baby, let's just say, as the last thing you see, I thought was just like kind of like the most like lowbrow but best part of like Karma, and I was just like, yeah.
There's definitely a lot of enjoyment when you're watching those fights. Like I'm excited to hear what you think about season 2 of part 3, just because like the ante is up. It goes fucking nuts. Which is kind of the opposite of what I'm going through right now with Monogatari, but like it's not like anyone's fault. It's just that's just how the story has been progressing. Like it's when you have such like violence and gore from Kizu Monogatari, it's kind of hard to maintain that level going forward, right?
Yeah.
There's like focuses on other things.
So we're going into spoiler territory. So, okay, so that is the end of my spoilers discussion for JoJo. Do you have anything else you want to say before we go into spoilers for Monogatari and pause?
Just be excited for part 2.
I'm first of all, I'm extremely excited for season 2, part 3. But also, I thought the OP was okay. By the way,
I hate that OP.
I thought it was the Rock OP.
It's boring as shit.
I thought it was okay. That's it.
There are worse ones that come over, but it's one of my least favorites.
But the sound effects was dope for the last episode, though.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Pause for 5 seconds for Monogatari spoilers.
So starting off with Neko Black and ending on Neko White, because I kind of want to put them together as one arc, even though they span across 2 different seasons.
I understand that.
I quite liked it. So Neko Black definitely. I mean, given the fact that one's black and one's white, you can see that the palette of Neko Black is a lot more grim, and it's because of the fact that Tsubasa finally succumbs to the Neko curse, and picks up a dead silver cat and gets inhabited, and becomes a Bakeneko herself. Yeah, Bakeneko.
Cat girl.
Yeah, cat girl.
But the
monster
bad
girl.
ones.
Yeah, not the fun kind. Well, it depends. She looks kind of fun, but not really.
Well, you want to have your arms ripped off? That's pretty fun, I guess.
I mean, you got to be Kiyomi. You got to get some of that vampire blood in you.
So good, by the way, that like he gets roughed up, and then Shinobu shows up basically for the first time, minus the Kizu part, and it's like, dude, the fuck, and then takes off her arm, fucking pours down blood, and then slaps it back on. I was just like, I miss Kizu Monogatari. I miss Yoshinobu.
I forgot which part of her body it is as well, but then her arm, right? She pulls her arm, and then like she pulls a heart span from it. She pulls out
from the mouth.
Yeah, she pulls it out. It's like, oh, you want to take care of that thing? Well, you should have asked in the first place. Just pulls it out. It's like, here, take it. It's like, oh, but I don't want to hurt her. I love her. It's like,
the fuck you doing, boy?
Yeah. It's at this point where it's like, you could see. Okay, so there was a lot of really messed up parts in Kizu, especially Kizu Part 3, where he's trying to really express his love for Hanekawa. But it is then quite wholesome that, as the story develops, that he then says, no, like how I feel about Hanekawa now has transcended love. Like I don't lust for her physically anymore. It's more just like I have to protect her no matter what, even if it means I die.
And Meme kind of challenges him on that. And I thought that was a very powerful moment for Aragi, because it's basically like having him admit, like, she is important to me, but not in the way that you would think as a dude, but maybe
but it's like it's that kind of big brain higher level thinking, right? She's like, okay, like she's important to me, but I don't love her in that way, but I love her more than that. So how do I show it to her? So then what he does then is he goes over into the middle of the field and tricks her into thinking she's in danger. She goes over, basically rips him in half, and then kills him, quote unquote. But this whole time he had swallowed Heartspan inside him, so as she cut him open, she also accidentally cut herself. And therefore she's then trying to, the whole point of the sword is to separate the human from the beast, from the curse. But Hanekawa herself is like, no, I kind of still want to hold on to it. Maybe I'll keep it as part of my personality.
Right, because you find out, I think then, throughout the whole time, you thought that there were two separate entities, kind of like switch on, switch off. But it turns out that it is less clear. And then at some point, the two of the Hanakawas, because one of them is called now Hanakawa Black, or Black Hanakawa, they kind of reached a mutual understanding. And it's almost like Shinobu and Araragi in some sense, except not as profound, I guess.
Yeah. So at that point, I was like, this is actually, this goes into like, when you say like, Jojo, y'all can calm down on the metaphors. Let Nishio take over it. Like that's exactly what it is. Because like those fight scenes were not anything spectacular, but the after effects of why they happened in the first place is like, this is fucking genius. It's pretty smart. Did you move it? Okay, yeah.
Can I just say that when Shinobu shows up to save Araragi and she does the flips, that's the exact same animation in Nisekoi's second season opening, and it looks exactly the same, and I had to verify it because they're both done by Studio Shaft.
Oh yeah, you watched Nisekoi like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, because they recycled the animation basically. The other thing that I would say is, you good with tongue twisters, bro?
Yeah.
You good with that?
No. So then going into Neko Whites, let's just get out of the way. Showers are great,
dude. I love Shenju Gahara. And
okay, yeah, that's the thing too. Yeah. Right? So like when I watched Bakemonogatari in the first place, like the main dialogue was going on between Hitagi, Shenju Gahara, and Koyomi Araragi, right? Then you go into Neko White, where instead of Araragi, he's kind of nowhere to be seen up until the last episode. Then you have Hitagi Senjukahara, and then you have Hanakawa Tsubasa, like, who you would probably, a lot of people would say, like, are two of the best girls.
I guess with third being Shinobu, but yes.
But again, Shinobu could be number one.
I mean, I think those three are the main three, really.
Right? So then it's like like Senjukahara, who like very clearly is known as Araragi's girlfriend.
Like, very obvious.
But also Senjukahara then goes up and talks to Hanakawa, says, "Do you love Araragi?" It's like, "Yeah, I do. I absolutely do. And if you don't take him, I will." It's like, "Oh, okay. I guess we're on the same page then."
Yeah, let's
But
have
they don't fuck each other up. It's like, "Yeah, so you love my boyfriend? Yeah, I love your boyfriend, and I'll take your boyfriend if you don't take care of him." It's like, "Okay, sure. You want to take a shower with me? What?
Yeah.
No, we can save water. It'd be wonderful to take a shower together."
Yeah, hey, let's share a bed, but don't use this pillow because I have an Electra complex. So you use the other pillow that I use because the other pillow's for my dad. And it's just like, I was just like, Senjukahara, I miss you, man. Like,
I haven't seen enough Senjukahara for a while, and I do like her a lot. I mean, of course, like, I love my big titty ponytailed hair, Tsubasa Hanakawa from Hana-Monogatari, as well as Kizu. But hey, she also is looking wonderful in Neko White.
So Neko White,
and that's all completely fine too, because canonically they're both 18.
Okay, there you go. So Neko White touches upon the subject of domestic abuse.
Yeah.
Which to me is extremely powerful because you find that out after the fact. Actually, Hanakawa doesn't tell Oshino Meme and I think Araragi. It is Meme kind of asks about it in the hospital, I think, at one point, and then tells Araragi, and then they both get like super pissed about it.
Yeah.
And
it's always a very interesting conversation whenever Hanakawa was asked about her family, her quote-unquote parents.
And that conversation that they have where Araragi gets mad on behalf of Hanakawa and Oshino Meme has a more neutral stance because, and they were like, how can you have a neutral stance in this? It's fucked up. And he's like, yeah, but do you know what's also fucked up? The fact that Hanakawa is like stone-faced righteous, and because she is quote-unquote as righteous and perfect, it makes everyone else look lesser, even if she is not doing it on purpose. And also, the fact that she is so emotionless about it is kind of fucked up, bro. And he's like, yeah, fuck, you're right. But I still am going to vouch for Hanakawa because I love her, bro. And he's like, yeah, okay, fine.
Yeah, it's definitely like that very gray area that a lot of the Monogatari arcs go over, where, like, can you really define what love is? Can you really say that this person is doing the right thing? Especially, like, for example, in Kizu Monogatari, when like you're when you have all the people like chasing after and trying to kill Shinobu. It's like, yeah, they're bad people, but at the same time, like, so is Shinobu because she's a fucking vampire that eats.
No, it's heart underplayed at that point.
Heart underplayed, spanned over time. Across the y-axis, something, whatever her full name is.
Yeah, I don't know either. I think, like, I'm pretty...
Heart Underblade for sure, though.
Yeah, Heart Underblade, yeah. So I think that Hanakawa's transformation at the end of Neko White, I was waiting for you to see it, and I was waiting for you to comment on it. So how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I like it, but
hair?
Yeah, I like it because I have to accept it now.
Yeah, you have to accept it now. Zebra hair, so
yeah. No, actually, don't.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Hey, look, she dyes it black. She dyes it black. So
she dyes it black every day. You know, got to keep up appearances and all that. Right after that, we move into Kabuki. Okay, now Kabuki.
Yeah, let's go.
Kabuki is wonderful because a lot of times whenever you see the Shinobu and Araragi interactions, especially, and also whenever it is the Mayoi and the Araragi interactions, it's always very, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why are you grabbing tits and ass?
A little girl.
And then there's also when Shinobu, granted, she is of vampire age, but she's also portrayed as the same age as Mayoi.
So here's
she's like in the bathtub naked with him and like trying to do favors, like to basically like continue ascending his vampire powers and shit, and then
Look, okay,
it's
so Monogatari has made it a point, and Araragi even says it at some point, that Mayoi the snail, right? She is a spirit, so she never grows older than the age she is. So technically, yeah, she looks like she's 12, but really she's like 1,200 or whatever. Also, Shinobu is also like a 3,300-year-old vampire or whatever, but she looks like that because you extracted all the power from her. So if you were to give it back, she'll turn into the Heart Underblade that is in Kizumonogatari. So, like, she's like, they're both okay, right, guys? And when Araragi says this, I just wanted to, like, no, it's not okay. I know what you're trying to say. Anime does it all the time. Doesn't mean it's okay. Bruh. And then you take it a step further by doing the stuff that he does. And I'm just like,
yeah. The good thing, however, is that in Kabuki Monogatari, none of that shit happens. Well, mostly it doesn't happen.
Mostly. And there's a reason for that, but yeah.
Time travel is always a hard thing to do.
It's like Steins Gate type shit.
That's why I like it.
I know. I told you that.
That's why I really, really like it.
I told you I love Kabuki, and I think you will too. I think I said that. So.
And it was fun. Where like I think it was in the 3rd episode, or like in the beginning of the 4th episode, when Mayoi shows up, and it's like she looks
normal.
She looks hot.
Yeah,
she's finally legal.
Also because she's not dead.
It's also like she's like oh, I've never seen you before, but I would imagine you would be someone I would meet in the future. Very nice to meet you. And then everything gets sorted out. They're saved. It's a really it was a nice like episode where like for once teamwork came into play.
Yeah.
Not most of the time it's like everyone's like a lone wolf, or they're just kind of like being told what to do, and then they have to find ways to survive and struggle and eventually like win. Whereas this is like, no, without Shinobu, like Araragi can't do anything, and without Araragi, no one can protect Shinobu. And then afterwards, they're doing this so that they can also bring Mayoi back.
So I think that Senju Gahara and Araragi has the best romance in the whole series. I would say though that Shinobu and Araragi has the best
partnership for sure. Like it's strategic partnership.
Yeah. And it transcends, like as earlier you said about Hanakawa, like it transcends like the lust, like feeling of love into something far more complex and greater. Shinobu and Aragi's relationship gets to the beginning of that level during Kabuki Monogatari, which, by the way, all started because dude need to do his summer homework, which I thought was fucking fantastic.
And if we all think back onto like Kizumonogatari as well, it's like they both need each other to live too, which is why like their bond is strengthened by their desire to survive. And that's like, why without one or the other, it's kind of like you're missing a whole.
Yeah, that's why I like that shower scene, not in Kabuki, but in Nisei, I think.
Yeah.
Not because of what
was
is
the
seen.
content, yeah.
It's the context and the dialogue.
It's basically, if you just looked at the subtitles.
Yeah, that's to be honest, that's exactly what I did. Like, no joke, like I was very uncomfortable. But hey, Kabuki Monogatari, the way that it's like, oh, there's multiple timelines, and it is so fucking sad when you actually see, I guess, like alternate Heart Underblade, and Shinobu and Aragi was ready to wreck shit, and then she shows up, and she lost, because she's just like, oh shit, that timeline is possible, as in like there was a future where you and I can be together, call it whatever, but like actually be together and be happy with each other to a certain degree, and I fucked it all up. And then she just turns around and sits. And I was just so heartbroken. I was like...
But in the end, there's a happy ending.
Yeah, but it's also...
For that part.
When I thought about it, like, philosophically, I was like, that's tragic as fuck. That's, like, time travel problems.
But at the same time, it's also, like, it further accentuates what happened at the end of Kizumonogatari when Oshino comes over to save them. It's like, sure, I can give you some vampire powers, but you're going to need her to live. And I can also save you, but you're going to be stuck in the child form for forever. And without this guy, you will die. So it's like, hey, nobody wins, but you only lose a little bit.
And that's why I love Oshino Meme also, because he plays the neutral party so well. Like, he's not just professes himself as trying to be impartial, but he literally
He's got nothing to give, nothing to gain. He's just there to facilitate the story, and hopefully you can find what you want. He just won't help you get there. And if you need more from him, he's only giving you the bare minimum.
He's like, I'll show you both sides of the same coin, but you decide which one you want. And I love that.
And then it's like, yeah, dude, both sides are shit. It's like, yeah, which one do you want? And then you realize, actually, yeah, you don't really have much of a choice at the end. No matter what, you're still going to suffer. You're just trying to see which one has a possibly better ending. And Meme is like, I'll be honest with you, you're going to fucking lose your shit whichever way you go. I'm just here to make sure you don't completely lose everything.
Yeah. So with Kabuki Monogatari, they went to time travel. And then in Hana-Monogatari, there's also time travel, kind of.
Kind of. So this one is more focused on Kambaru, which is the sportsy, athletic girl
who's also into girls,
who runs her own dojo, or is very high ranking master in her dojo. I think Karen also trains with her, right? Or plans.
Well, she really idolizes her.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So it's also that really weird kind of relationship too, where it's like she clearly is into girls, but then she's also nonstop trying to tease. I would imagine that's something she would do, where she would just tease Araragi, and that's the dynamic of the relationship. And then afterwards, she's gone. I think she's tied up or something. Her hand starts to hurt, and then all of a sudden she goes for training, and then someone's riding a bike next to her, and then she meets another girl who has a crutch and a wrapped up leg. And it turns out that this girl is also got a hairy arm and a hairy leg, and also really has a thing for girls too.
So, Hana-Monogatari, what do you think of those two characters in question? Which is
the characters themselves, I didn't necessarily feel they were that memorable. Again, this is only just from watching up to Hana and not the rest of second season. But the story that they were involved in, I felt was very deep.
The taking of collection of the parts. Yeah.
So it's there's one girl's got the leg, no, one girl's got the arm, and the other girl's got one arm, one leg, and then there's also another leg somewhere here. All that's left that they're fighting over now is the skull.
I think there's a torso at one point.
There's a torso as well. So you basically need to collect. It's like Dragon Ball. You have to collect all the bones, the different parts of the monkey, to be able to, acquire the beast monkey
and get the wish.
Yes. And then when they have Yakiniku, who's the guy that brings her there? Kaiki shows up, and Kaiki is an enigma. I don't know shit about Kaiki, but I know he's a swindler. But is he really a swindler? Is he really there to ruin people's lives? I don't think it's that simple.
With Kaiki, I think I have to say that since we're in spoilers, it's free for all. Hana-Monogatari takes place in the future, but takes place very, very far in the future, because at this point in time, Araragi and Senjukahara, they all graduated. And you don't see Senjukahara, but you see Araragi with a different appearance driving Kambaru back home.
I think at this point he's still 19, 20. He's not that.
He's university.
He's basically a freshman or a second year in university, whereas Kambaru is now a senior in high school.
Right. Now, the reason why that is important is also because I think at the end of Nisei, Kaiki, it is heavily implied that something bad happens to Kaiki. And Hana, you clearly see him interacting with Kambaru, which, by the way, that interaction and that relationship is also quite interesting. But you find out that something happened in between, in terms of chronologically, that he's okay. But not really, but kind of. But also you care about Kambaru. What the hell's up with that? Those questions, I think, is extremely important. And also the characters that were introduced, that you kind of has zero screen time, except the person on a bike, for example, is super important.
I do want to ask. Nadeko has her part soon, right?
Yes.
Okay. Because I kind of want to see more of her.
Don't worry, you'll see plenty of her. Not spoilery, because if you look
nothing between the lines. Literally, I'm just going to see more of her, but I'm also going to see more of her. Right? Because of what she does in Bakemonogatari.
Do you want to know how crazy Nadeko can be? Guess what? You'll find out.
I mean, she's the snake voiced by Kanahana. I figured that anybody that's voiced by Kanahana and is possessed by a snake monster is going to be fucking nuts.
It gets pretty fucked up.
Okay.
Way more than...
Well, to be fair, her arc in Bakemonogatari was pretty fucked up, too.
It gets even more fucked up.
Right? So
super fucked up.
If it goes beyond that level, then shit, okay.
Definitely beyond that level.
All right.
I can't even tell you. I can't.
Am I getting close to it though? It happens in the second season, right?
Definitely. I can tell you that for sure.
So I can definitely talk about it in the next Gotta Watch Them
You
All.
will, because at
okay.
the end of, I guess, would be season 2 of the Monogatari series, that gets resolved.
Cool. Okay. I definitely will be looking forward to that then. Let me just double check and make sure that I got those parts ready. In terms of like which one, so is it Otori, Owari, and yada yada?
No. Owari is third. You're looking at, I think Oni something, Oni Koi.
Otori, Oni,
And Koi, yeah.
14 episodes. Okay.
And then I would watch like the Cur 3 and Cur 4, so the last 24 episodes of JoJo.
The good part of part 3.
Honestly, like, I know, like, that's why originally off air I wanted to sort of run this by you slightly, because I knew, like, it would get a rise out of anybody that really likes JoJo.
Yeah, but I mean that's the kind of discourse we want, right?
Yeah.
Like, if I agree with everything you said about JoJo, then like I could be able to do the same thing with anybody else. Like I don't want everyone to think that like just because I like JoJo, you should like it too. And like just because you don't like a certain thing, like I have to be like, no, you're wrong. You have to like this. No, it's like completely understandable why you wouldn't like and like hate certain things.
But I also still think JoJo is really dope. People, you might sound like, or especially when I went through the bad stuff in the beginning, it was very easy for anybody, no fault to them, that they think that all I'm going to do for the rest of the time is just shit on it. Unfortunately, I hate for you to be disappointed. I actually still really like it. I still do. It's just so uneven. But I also think like that's JoJo in of itself. So then I had this huge meta thought process, like, that's the whole thing of JoJo, is to go bombastic all over the wall. But the things that I have a problem with is even worse. But the things that I have, like, I vibe with is even better. So it's just like, yes, it evens out to an 8. But the amount of times, as I said, flip-flops is like so many times.
I think like, yeah, my experience with Monogatari so far is it's been great. I mean, like, there's definitely been a lot of 8s, 1 or 2 9s in terms of overall experience. Definitely 1 7, but that one is like, look, if you're into that kind of thing, sure. If not, then hey, this is probably not going to be it for you. It just treat it as like a side quest, treat it as like an OVA that you don't necessarily need to watch. But I appreciate the level of attention that Nishio puts into the script in terms of trying to, play out certain metaphors, being able to create a message without necessarily just having the characters say it. It's always nice to have like very visual metaphors and also like stuff that is like you kind of read between the lines and then realize, oh, that's what they meant. That's why they're doing this. That's why they're playing basketball. That's why they're riding a bicycle like that. It's like those tiny little nuances that you might not really notice in the beginning, but you can. It's okay. JoJo is one of those things where it's like you watch and you have a blast when you watch it. Monogatari is you really should watch it a second time in case you missed anything, and it's more a case that when you finally see it, it makes sense, and then afterwards it's like, wow, I'm so glad I caught it this time, because if I missed it the first time, I wouldn't have been able to vibe with, that kind of thing. You definitely want to give more time and attention to Monogatari, but that doesn't detract from JoJo, because the way of enjoying JoJo is also completely different. Both are enjoyable in different ways.
Okay. Maybe we won't do this, but I'll put it out to you on the spot. Do you think that we should do kind of like a time capsule where I would say what I think will happen in season 2, because I've not seen a single thing of the anime or the manga, and I choose not to until I actually have to watch it?
Yeah, you could. Yeah, I'd say like 1 or 2 things. Make a small prediction of what you expect to see in season 2 of part 3.
Okay, so why don't let's just hold on for a sec in terms of like I'll put in the timestamp. Okay. Yeah. So this is still spoilers, but this is my prediction of part 3 season 2 that I have not heard or seen or read anything. So I have no basis to say other than my gut feeling. At this point, Jonathan shows up in terms of the body. Joseph shows up in terms of grandpa. There's still one very important character that died that has yet to show up, and I think that person will show up. I have no basis. I have no idea if that's really going to happen, but I think this person is Caesar, and if he fucking shows up and fights Joseph, I'll be like, fucking yes, man. And I'm my gut tells me this is 100% going to happen. I have no reason to suspect. I have no evidence. But you have brought back all these characters. At this point, it's like, well, you might as well bring back Lisa. I don't know. Fuck it. I don't know. Who am I supposed to know?
Yeah. This is more like you wish to see or you think this is going to happen?
Both. In terms of Caesar showing up, I think I would wish to see it.
Right.
And because it would make emotional impact, and also it would just be dope.
I'm trying to be as blank as possible.
No. I get it, because if you were to reveal it, then that would be bad. But I think it will happen, and that's what I want to happen. The other thing that I will say is Dio's powers are better be dope in terms of how fucked up or OP it is, because they make it this whole time of like the mastermind. And I know that there are some memes that show up in season 2, part 3, because osmosis.
It's fucking Jojo.
Yeah, there is involving a certain vehicle, let's just say, that I already know, because unfortunately you can't not know if you know a bit about Jojo already, because that's just a good meme.
You can't just like block every single anime Instagram or Facebook or
I knew
YouTube.
about stands already, like, and I know about the jail cell because I looked at trailers of the fighting game or the story. Like, you can't, right? Like,
yeah.
I know how certain characters look in future parts just cause. But that moment when I see it, it's gonna be so good.
I can't wait for you to talk about this. It's gonna be a couple months before you get into it, but I'll be ready to dish out my comments, my views on the rest of season 2 of the Monogatari series. I don't really know what to expect. Now, of course, I would expect that Nadeko shows up, as you've confirmed that she will. Which part she will be coming in, I don't know, but
I mean, it's the latter half of. I guess it would be season 2.
Yeah. The more I watch it, and like it seems like it really shouldn't trend in that direction, but I feel like one of the girls is gonna die.
Okay.
I have a very strong because it's always,
well, which one then?
It definitely wouldn't be Senjukahara or.
By the way, Stoneface, and also you actually don't know, right?
Yeah, I have no basis.
This is speculation. Okay, yeah.
Right, and even if you were to make a face, it would be like you. I can't confirm it.
Don't worry, I won't. Yeah. But which one do you think will die?
I don't think Hanakawa. I don't think Senjukahara. I'm feeling that. Oh, it'd be sad, but I feel like Nadeko would die because she came hella close in the first season in Bakemonogatari. Why she would die, I don't know, but it's just like when you're dealing with like curses and monsters,
oddities,
and the fact that like no one has died except for the 2 Christians that were chasing after Heart Underblade in
right, the hunters, yeah.
God damn, their deaths were fucking brutal.
Yo, if you shuriken Hanakawa's guts open and her bowels all over the place, you deserve to die the way you did. I'm sorry.
He ate her head. No, yeah, she ate her head like an apple.
Yeah, it's pretty dope.
That was fucking ridiculous.
It's so ridiculous.
This is like, it reminded me of Devilman Crybaby.
It's like Kizumonogatari as well. Like girl Shinobu like goes in her head, like stabs her own head to activate her memory. I was just like, what the fuck is going on? But yeah, sure, let's go.
Okay, I think that's as far as I'm gonna go with predictions because it's hard. Like with Jojo, at least you have some sort of indication that something wacky is bound to happen. But with Monogatari, a lot of stuff is kind of like held within the chapters of the books. Like in order to really guess, like you have to have prior knowledge, and unfortunately, that just means to read along, to watch along, and for me to make any further like guesses of what happens next in the Monogatari series, like, okay, I mean,
yep.
What's the swindler's name again?
Kaiki.
Yeah, I think Kaiki's gonna have a much bigger role.
Way bigger. I can tell you that. I'm not telling you why.
Kaiki's have a much bigger role. I feel like the sisters are gonna show up again. But as far as like additional, I don't think there's gonna be that many more characters. I think like that's the thing with Jojo has a lot of characters, and Monogatari is like the opposite of that. You have the core girls and the occasional like other like characters show up, especially if it's like a main adversary. Like Monkey Girl 2 versus Monkey Girl 1.
I mean, there's a reason why all like the random extras are actually not drawn in and they're just like silhouettes because you're not supposed to pay attention to that.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes. I'm also glad that in the upcoming weeks, I don't have to do a lot of late night work obligations and have a clear social schedule. So
we should Discord or watch something.
Finally get round to watching stuff. And last thing we watched, we watched Bubble.
Yeah,
which was shit.
But it was
not shit. It was just disappointing.
It was disappointing, but I still enjoyed us Discording for old time's sake.
We'll get on it. I just gotta make sure that I find nights where like I actually am completely free, and then we'll get on Discord.
The last thing I will say though, which just came to my mind, I don't, and this is like super super minor to be honest. I don't like the episode names of the JoJo Part 3 Season 1 because they show like Lovers Part 1. So I'm like, okay, this fight is gonna last at least more than one part. But then there are certain titles where they don't have a part name. So I'm just like, oh, it's just one episode and done deal. And I was just like, I shouldn't care about this at all. But it's like metagaming it to the point where it's excessive. But every time I see it, because it's right there, I'm just like, oh, fuck. I wish I didn't, but fuck.
I was going to at least make a counter argument with Monogatari, but the problem is, like, when it's Neko Monogatari and it's only 4 episodes and it's all 4 episodes on Tsubasa, it's like, what did I expect? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, of course, it says Neko. Who's the Neko? It's Tsubasa. So 4 episodes for her, of course it would be. It'd be fucking stupid to focus on anybody else, right? Oh, you're going to do a Kabuki? It's going to be like a drama piece? Okay, well, why don't you have a central threesome of the most dramatic character trio? Oh, who's had a really tragic backstory? Shinobu, Aragi, fucking Mayoi. Why don't we put all 3 of them together? So you're going to have 4 episodes together. There you go.
Yeah.
Don't be disappointed. The only reason why you would be disappointed is if you don't like those characters in the first place.
Yes. And so, yeah, it's a super nitpicky thing of the episode number, but it's just something at least also that I noticed. But it was really like a very inconsequential thing in the grand scheme of things. But I did notice that.
To be fair, I think like some shows, a lot of shonens do that. Especially like you look at Haikyuu. It's like when it's about to be like the serving, like the match point in a game, and then like it has a specific title. You're like, okay, yeah, from that title, of course, that school's gonna win. Kurasu's gonna fucking win, right? But let's just watch and see how it turns out. Oh, it's hype, So like, yeah, I agree with you. Let's just try not to look at titles. But if you can't be helped, then I'm sorry.
Again, I'm not blaming anybody. It's just
it's
something
it's just one of those little observations.
Yeah,
right?
That's literally why the last thing I said, and obviously it was like a last whatever of it. So yeah, okay. And that is the end of our discussion of Gotta Watch Them All number 3. Which is also Good Anime Palette Podcast number episode 34. Mm-hmm. You can always reach us through our email, gapalette@gmail.com. That's GAPALELETTE @gmail.com, all lowercase, all one word. You can also contact us on Twitter using the handle @PaletteGood. That's capital P and capital G, all one word. You have a Facebook page at www.facebook.com/palettegood. That's capital P and capital G, all one word. We have a website, www.goodanimepalette.com, all lowercase, all one word. Discord, Mal Club. Invites are in the show description. Email us if you want them as well. No problem. Music credits for this episode. No Cry by Fasion is our intro music. Our break music is Be Right There by Omie. And our outro music is Future Vibes by Kyo. Our music was provided courtesy of epidemicsound.com. If you're interested in using Epidemic Sound as a service, we will have a referral link that is provided in the show description.
We went through the ringer of emotions about how we feel about Monogatari and JoJo, but at the very end, it's like these shows are great. They're not perfect, but they're great, and I think like just because of how much we enjoy them, they can be perfect in their own.
Okay,
just remember something.
Yeah, I just remember something about JoJo. In JoJo Part 1 and 2, and this is not spoilery, the use of color was kind of odd, right? In terms of like the shadow being purple. In Part 3, there was some of that, but very little compared to Part 1 and Part 2. And I thought that was a little bit of a shame because I really dig the weird color scheme. Or the bizarre color scheme, if you will, right?
So it's like, oh, this is really fucking weird. Why would you do that? And then you go back to Season 3. You're like,
do it! What the fuck?
Do the thing!
Yeah, dance, monkey, dance for me, damn it!
Oh, that's going to happen at some point for sure.
Dude. Yeah, this is
JoJo's weird. JoJo's fucking bizarre as shit. Monogatari is bizarre as shit. Like I think we're again like are we talking about 2 of like the most comprehensive and like eclectic anime series of all time, right? Like
it's almost like we chose these 2 series on purpose.
And it's hard to really say like, oh, which one's better, which one's like worth your time. Like they're both very much worth your time if you want to put the time into it. Like that, it's just simple as that. And you will enjoy both of them to a certain extent, depending on what it is you're looking for, right? If you don't like going into like long, deep exposition, then don't watch Monogatari. If you don't want to watch something that is just like ubermensch, like fucking like Sigma brain chads fighting each other, like then don't watch JoJo. But if you're okay with either of those, I think you will have a very, very wonderful time exploring the worlds of Nishio and Araki.
And honestly, don't diss Monogatari and JoJo if you have at least not seen some of it and try to watch it, right? That's how I also feel about it.
But when you do watch it and you do find things you are not comfortable with, or you are like extremely like, why is this even here? It really bothers me.
Let us know.
That's completely valid.
Let us
right?
know. Email us. Talk to us.
Right? It got heated in the beginning, but it's also like that. But that's the point. Like, we don't want to just all of a sudden be like, yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Like, if I don't agree with you, I don't agree with you. But it doesn't just mean like I don't value your opinion, but I value you for bringing it up as an opinion in the first place. Right?
It's like I think your opinion is wrong, but I will not shit on you as a person.
Yeah.
I shit on your opinion, which to me is different. But maybe
What's
some
that
people
saying, right? It's like you might be wrong, but I'll fight for your right to say.
I think I said that for the BP6. Is like I will not fight for what you say, but I'll fight for your right to say it, basically. I really like that quote. I don't know who said it, but yeah.
So, like in the end, JoJo's fun. Monogatari is... Monogatari, now that I think about it, it gets kind of depressing, actually.
So, Will, next episode, we will be releasing... do you know what it is about?
Yeah.
It's going to be quite interesting how that pans out, because we are learning about... There's
a lot of stuff, like... that from watching Monogatari that I can probably apply into
absolutely.
So I will need to spend some time looking into it. So yeah, without further ado, we're gonna take a nice 2-week break and just enjoy hopefully some sunshine, some rest, and above all, some more anime and manga. I can't believe I've been neglecting so much anime and manga.
I'm neglecting a lot of manga. You should read some. I'm not saying you have to read any.
If I do read any more, it's to finish off Golden Kamuy.
Yeah, you said that. So yeah, that's not a bad idea at all. So,
or maybe I can start watching Fist of the North Star to see where it all began for JoJo. No,
you can do whatever the fuck you want. Well,
150 episodes. Well, to be fair, I've also read like over 1,000 chapters.
Yeah, of One Piece, right? Yeah. This is coming from the same person. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, it's been a really, really fun episode. Hopefully, if you haven't already, hopefully this episode gives you like that push to go and check out the Monogatari series or the JoJo series or both.
Yeah, do that.
Yeah, do that.
Yeah. Like you're looking at me like, Jason, say something. End it.
Say the thing, Jason.
Oh yeah. What's up, guys? Catch you later. Bye.
Bye.